Broodcast on Poets at War, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. And now, the Broodcast.
Hello, friend.
However, the actual differences of the show and the decoration.
Hello.
How we doing?
Pretty good. I'm at my family's place, my sister's place. Been hanging out with the niece, the nephew, and whatnot.
I got you. Sounds good.
Yeah. You saw that one, the quote of the day with them.
Yes, the violence one, that was fun.
Yeah, that was great. Earlier, while they were Josh talking to my brother-in-law off screen. Sorry, his name is also Josh.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Earlier today, while they were running around and stuff, I'm trying to not use their names. You're not recording right now, right?
I am, but I
Okay.
don't have to post it. It gets edited.
Anyway, I'm back.
Okay, so we good?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, we're good. I just didn't want to. Yeah, I don't like using minors' names online at all.
Understandable. I understand. Today was a major bear.
I'm so sorry. What was that?
I just said today was a major bear.
Major bear.
That means it was tough. It was hard.
Gotcha. What happened?
Well, miscommunication about the morning, and I had stayed up till 2 a.m. trying to get further on in the audiobook, and she had important stuff that she had to go out of the house for, so I had to watch the kids and tried my hardest to stay awake and not die. So
Gotcha.
I'm good now.
I'm gonna have the hardest time. I'm gonna have the hardest time not fidgeting, with something out of this toy box here. Over the years, my nephew has accumulated a rather large collection of little action figures and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. And we've been spending a good chunk of time making this game way too complicated, but we were having fun.
You guys
with it.
making something complicated? Nah.
Yeah. We had like these index cards, dice. Yeah. We were having fun. It was like a little game to kind of make it more objective.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fights and whatnot. We were having fun with it. But it's time to just let that be a thing on the side.
I gotcha. Hmm.
Yep. So we went to see Inside Out 2
Yeah.
today.
Mm-hmm.
That was something. It was it's really good.
A lot
I
better
need
than
all
I
the
had any
kids to-
right being, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I I thought it was kind of funny. They had the rumor island or the rumor mill or something like that.
Yeah.
And like right after it, they had Mount Crushmore.
Yep.
Yeah, and well, I couldn't help but kind of go. I'm just trying to say, it's like, hey, y'all need to chill. It's a kid.
Pretty much. Pretty much what they've consistently
Pretty
said.
much.
So
Yeah. It's like it's not about that. It's just a
Well,
good
did you stay till the end?
story.
Did you stay till after the credits?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
you
was
saw
fixing
the deep dark secret thing. That was the
yeah. What was the deep dark secret
she burned the rug one
again?
time,
Oh yeah.
which basically means
Uh,
more than likely she
I-
tried to smoke, and that's like her one deep dark secret.
Nice.
Which is hilarious because of course everyone's expecting it to be something else because the culture is sick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like why would you mess up a story about a kid? No.
Right. Well, Kendrick
Yeah.
Lamar
Okay.
Kendrick Lamar is making sure of that. I don't know if you know about all that brouhaha. Most of the evangelical church does not, because they're not mostly in the hip hop world at all, but I'm not really either. But I've been hearing about it through other friends, and you know who Drake is, you know who Kendrick Lamar is?
Yeah, I know of them.
Vaguely, okay. Basically, they've been having
I know who they are, but
they've been having your classic like diss battle beef kind of thing, you know, going back and forth, trading back, you know, singles, whatever. And Kendrick Lamar has been absolutely over the top destroying Drake. And Drake was a Nickelodeon guy during when things were really bad. That stuff came out recently, like the pedophilia stuff. But
yeah.
What's this called? Kendrick made allusions to Drake being pedophilic and has basically turned the entirety of existence against him and really kind of destroyed him. And it's funny, our culture has gotten to the point where Cell Block 9, you know, Cell Block 9 is basically saying, not that Kendrick particularly, but just generally speaking, the tougher, edgier parts of society are the ones saying, no. You ain't stepping past this line. You've come this far, no further. You know,
Right.
with the culture, which is just crazy. So.
Oh yeah, that it's the people that are really far down that line anyway that they're trying to decide the line. Yeah.
Well, yes and no, because a lot of those guys are mostly straight black guys at this point. They're the ones saying no further. They're not just black guys, but like tough prisoned white guys and Hispanics and gangbangers and, you know, all that other stuff, because they've seen how bad everything is. They see where it's going.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether they are turning back or not on the adult stuff, they are sure as heck not letting it go to the next generation, because they actually want something better for the next generation, even if they haven't decided they want something better for themselves yet.
Yeah. So,
you know?
yeah, like I'm so sorry. I feel like I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you said it directly.
No, I didn't. It's the Broodcast. I'm not trying to drag everyone down.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah.
So I was like, I think I get it, and I need to trust that I got it, because I do.
You do.
But why?
You do. You do.
Okay. I do. I definitely do. Oh my goodness.
You second guess too many things.
Yeah, I do, and that's why you're reading
right
stuff.
Exactly.
Are you reading my? Are you reading?
Yeah.
Stuff
I got it. Yeah, I got you covered.
Cool.
If my voice doesn't give out, so.
I think. Are you reading everybody's stuff or?
No. You and Joel. Depends on who else shows up. So we are. Are we on proper time now? Yeah, we are. Okay, so.
Yep.
We'll give it another 5 minutes or so. See if anyone else shows up, and if not, assume that it's going to be us. I doubt that it will be.
Oh.
A lot of people end up showing up later and stuff like that, but we'll begin, and people can listen back to the recording. But I'm going to grab a cough drop for a minute while we hang. Let's see.
Okay.
I don't like cough drops as much as straight like lozenges. I think my favorite is Luden's wild cherry throat lozenges, but I haven't been able to find them around here.
Yeah.
So
I typically just stick with the Ricola.
Ricolas are all right,
Ricola.
but yeah, the cough drops tend to dry out my throat.
Mm,
And so I prefer the cherry lozenge. That tends to do a lot better.
goodness. My nephew, he has collected not only he's not only got his own action figures, he has all of the ones I grew up playing with,
Mm-hmm.
all the ones that I grew up with. So it's just little pop.
Yep.
And, yeah. I'm typically the one who makes the biggest mess with them.
Now you're going to be, I think you're trying to make it up to Alex's wedding, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Brendan and me are the 3 brood parties going to be there, I think.
Aaron will be with me.
Right. But I meant like just parties. I didn't mean like all the individuals, but yeah. Unless he's going to be driving a different car, which wouldn't really make sense, would it?
No. I'm planning on heading up there. Gonna try to work as many hours as I can at the new job and work at. They do like vacation days, but it's like a certain percentage based off of how many hours you've worked.
Yep.
So I gotta rack up a few of those hours.
Makes sense. Oh boy.
Well, I hope other people are gonna hop on.
Well, the Wilsons are dealing with their mom, so we need to keep being in prayer for them.
Oh,
Brendan should be on, I would think, but he's been busy lately with work. Alex never know at this point because he's just so busy.
Yeah, busy.
Well, he is though. Like he's got a lot to do.
Yeah, he is.
So
I just like teasing him.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think.
I need to get a photo whenever I go up there with me giving Alex a big old bear hug and just kind of like shoo to Debbie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm excited to DJ. I always love doing that.
It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Did he say he can't dance?
He can do traditional couples ballroom type dancing. He cannot do square dancing, line dancing, or anything of that nature, supposedly. He thinks he's too uncoordinatedly. He thinks he's too uncoordinated. I'm like, if you can drum, you can dance. You may need practice, but if you can drum, you can dance. Anyone can drum. That's my point.
Oh,
they may or may not be able to drum well,
okay.
But anyone can drum. A little toddler can drum.
Yep.
All right, where are we at? Yeah, we should go ahead and get started. All right. If it's a short one, that would honestly be helpful to me, but I don't think it will be necessarily. We've got 3 things to go through, all 3 of which I am reading, but obviously you chime in with all your thoughts afterward and everything. We can have longer discussions and try to stretch this out, see if anyone shows up. So,
Abby is saying that she's going to try to hop on, and I'm messaging Aaron.
Okay.
Because he, A, doesn't have a job,
mm-hmm.
B, just finished his last assignment for school.
So he has no excuse.
Not here. He has no excuse.
Okay.
So I'm actually, I'm just going to, if you got to do like intro stuff, I'm going to try call the house phone.
Not exactly intro stuff, but I'm just trying to decide which one I should do first. Probably Joel, since he's not here, and we can go ahead and do his since he sent it in. Let me go ahead and get to his file here. All right, minimize this so I can see you. Okay. I'm just going to read what he has here. He has a little bit of introduction and then the chapter fragment that he gave right here. Okay. Intro. Jennifer is a nurse that was hired to work for a day at a event. She was picked up at a garage. She was picked up at a parking garage and with other medical professionals and bused to the Loom Corps, which is a group of mercenaries base. After a tour of the pop-up hospital, she was put in charge of triage. She is very suspicious of Loom Corps, and after the meteor hits and she sees helicopters coming back with non-injured people, she confronted her supervisor. He suggested she take a walk by the hangar. So that's where we're going to pick up. You guys know the drill, sci-fi thing with nano zombies kind of thing, nanobot zombie thing that he's been doing. So this is another piece of that. This one's called Jennifer. By the time Jennifer was approaching the hangar, her blood was starting to boil. A second wave of evacuees had been dropped off, and there were only 2 people that needed any attention. She was working herself into a fine but quiet fit. She rounded the corner to the front of the hangar in time to see a craft like nothing she had ever seen being extracted from the hangar. Not that she knew that much about aircraft. This looked different and sounded unlike anything she had ever encountered. What made her stop in her tracks were the pilots. Their helmets had pointy ears. The craft floated off to the landing pads where a group of men wearing heavy-looking body armor waited. They were all equipped with rifles. That made her nervous. As she watched, she took several more steps, trying to see inside the strange hovering craft. Unknowingly, she passed in front of a large hangar door. The men hurried on board, and the strange craft lifted straight up. A glowing field appeared over the nose of the craft. 2 glowing tubes extended along each side. A voice behind her made her jump. "Go, Sprinter! Show these humans what real speed looks like!" "You mean this?" a voice chirped through the radio static. As the tube reached the full length of the craft, it shot forward with incredible speed, leaving a sonic boom in its wake. Jennifer turned around, finger raised, ready to scold someone for sneaking up on her. Instead of seeing someone behind her, she stared into the hangar and its alien spaceship. She stood there, pointing at nothing, staring. "You must be one of the nurses," a voice from her feet brought her back to herself. She looked down to see what looked like a very weird animal. It was bright green and wearing a red jumpsuit. It stood up and offered her its hand. "I am Swing." She stood, shocked, for almost a minute. Swing waited with a pleasant smile, watching her, cocking his head to one side, then the other. Finally, opened his arms wide in a friendly gesture, his smile growing from ear to ear. "It's okay, I'm not going to bite," he laughed. "Oh, I'm sorry, she began to stammer. "It's okay. Really, what? I am your first alien?" he joked, setting her at ease with his tone. "This is impossible. A real alien. Okay, calm down, and don't sound like an idiot." "Oh, nah, I get guys from Mars stopping by all the time," she joked back, finding her voice. Her frustration forgotten, replaced by a mix of fear and curiosity. "I am Jennifer. So I guess this answers the question of where these tablets came from." He nodded and beamed his large smile again. It reminded her of how dogs sometimes smile, like they are the happiest thing in the world. "He's so cute. Okay, play it cool and don't scare him off." "So, what are you doing here?" she continued. So much for not sounding like an idiot. "Actually, I'm trying to sneak away for something very important," he whispered conspiratorially. "What?" she asked, her eyes getting wide. She looked around to see if they were being overheard. He climbed the side of the door till he was on eye level with her and cupped a free hand over his mouth so only she could hear. She leaned close. Someone told me there was a snack machine around here, he whispered in a serious tone. I just discovered chocolate last night, and I was hoping there might be some more. Can you help me, perhaps? She looked at him and snorted a laugh. Chocolate? That's your secret mission? Shh! Don't let them catch me. I am not supposed to leave the hangar, he said, trying to quiet her. Don't worry, I will get you some. Without thinking, she reached to pick him up like a child. He clung to her with his tail and sat in the crook of her arm as if he was used to this position. It made her think of a picture of her mother had of her as a little girl with one of her large stuffed animals. She had just passed several vending machines right around the corner and made her way back. She selected a chocolate bar as he hid next to the soda machine. Then she had an idea. She punched in for one of each candy bar and a bag of chips in the machine. Then she got several sodas for him to try. Together they smuggled those snacks back into the hangar and hid behind some crates in the corner. She opened and described each of the treats to her new little friend. He tried each one with animated enthusiasm and began to make a contented purring noise. So why are you here? I mean, all of you. What is going on? She finally felt comfortable asking again. Well, it is that meteor, he said, waving a candy bar at the city. It has a biohazard. I think that is your word for it. It is going to turn people into something else. They will become dangerous and attack anyone around. They will try and kill everyone. We have come to help stop it from spreading. She stared at him. The idea crossed her mind that maybe he was joking again. This seemed unlikely, considering everything else that had happened. After a moment, she realized she had stopped breathing. That sounds horrible, she gasped. Oh yeah, he said absently, while inspecting a potato chip before eating it. It could wipe out the whole world if left unchecked. His tone was nonchalant, as if commenting on the weather. Jennifer sat speechless, staring out of the hangar at the city in the distance. She could see one of the helicopters on its way back. There were so many thoughts racing through her head. Here she was hiding in a hangar with an alien behind a spaceship, discussing a planet-killing pandemic that made her wildest conspiracy theory seem tame. No one would ever believe this. So it's a virus? Jennifer asked, her palms getting sweaty. Her mind was going over the logistics of how fast an unchecked virus could spread. What is this creature? Swing asked, pointing in the corner. Jennifer looked. That's a spider. They make webs to live on. This has nothing to do with the internet, Swing said. Imagine if this spider was so small you needed a microglass to see it. So it's a parasite? Jennifer asked, stifling a giggle at his mispronunciation. Excuse me, it was splider. I auto-corrected it in my brain. Imagine if this splider. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Chew up this cough drop. No, it cannot go on the web to any sites. It would be much worse if it traveled on your internet. It crawls into the brain. Parasites are creepy crawlies that live inside a host and eat off of them. Then yes, Swing said, nodding. She was deciding whether to ask him more questions about the aliens or the parasite when she was startled by a tall figure with 4 arms and bright orange fur leaning over the crate. Jennifer was too stunned to move by this newcomer. Swing was small and cute. This alien was intimidating. She sat frozen, holding her breath as she watched him. Swing, we are going to need you for the refit when the craft lands, the newcomer said, as if it were sitting at the table in the break room instead of playing hooky. Captain wants our equipment loaded and installed in 10 or fewer. Oh, is that one of the chocolate things? I will be right there, Sparks. It should attach without problem. we calibrated them pacifically for Kit's craft last night, Swing said, passing him a candy bar with his tail. He began stuffing the wrappers in his pockets. Jennifer, it was enjoyable to meet you. I much appreciate for the treats. By the way, everything we have discussed, and even us being here, is a secret. You will not tell, will you? Wait, will I have a chance to talk to you again? She asked. This was so exciting, talking to a real alien, especially one so cute. She felt like she was about to wake up and find out it was all a dream. The thought of leaving with so many unanswered questions was killing her. Hand me that, Swing said, pointing at her tablet. She handed it to him, and he typed on it for a second, then handed it back. There, now you can send messages for me, he said, smiling once again as if he was the happiest thing ever. Soon, you will be busy much. If you need something, I will be ready for your helping. Then he chirped a pleasant sound that she later realized must have been a farewell in his native tongue and hopped away towards a work crew. She remembered as she reflected on the encounter on her walk back to the hospital, how his English had become broken at the end. Somehow, it had made the small creature seem more sincere. When she looked at her tablet, there was an icon pinned to the top corner that had his smiling face and name. Throughout the day, she kept glancing at it for reassurance that she had really met him. His beaming icon became her anchor as the day became more difficult. Looking at it and thinking of their shared snack helped her calm herself and keep from getting stressed out. And then there's another part here that he wrote that seems detached, but I'm going to go ahead and read it anyway. Wesley says, "Thanks for taking the time to talk to my nurse. She was getting ready to lead a walk-off. She is now helping keep everyone else calm." "You are welcome, but I could not have done it without myself. I never know what to say. Using a stealth candy run to gain her trust was brilliant, and I cannot take credit for it. They gave her the name Charm for a reason." "Well, I will have to make sure to thank her as well. You still pulled it off perfectly. Jennifer is the nurse in charge of triage, so she would be asking questions sooner or later anyway. Well done." So there we go. That's what Joel had for us.
Okay, I feel like I need to start back on square one with the story and catch up again. But
yeah, he's giving us bits and
caught-
pieces, but yeah, we've gotten little
Yeah.
bits and pieces here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, he
so
hasn't given us
released
everything. No.
That makes me feel better. That makes me feel better. Because I'll be honest, I still don't feel like I quite know what's going on.
It's basic.
But-
Well, I'll catch you up because listeners are listening. So basically, there is a giant pandemic of bad guys. I don't remember all the names, but I'm just gonna go with it.
Right.
Bad guys coming in.
What I remember.
Nanobots going to make everybody zombies. There is also an alien force that is coming in that is made up of worlds that have been destroyed by this evil force that are working together to stop it from destroying any other planets.
Okay.
And so there's...
Okay, so wait, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was just, there's a lot that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all kind of disjointed, but not. They're all kind of...
Right. You haven't heard the whole... I mean, you haven't heard the whole thing, and neither have I. This is just bits and pieces.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I gotcha. I get it. I gotcha. It's just there's a lot of moving parts. What's like the narrative through line that connects it all? Kind of what I'm wondering.
I mean, it's the battle. But
Yeah.
I mean, they lead up to it.
I mean,
so
is there like a main character he's talked about? Is it the...
It's multiple characters. It reminds me of Roland Emmerich films like Independence Day and 2012 and other films like that are sort of disaster movies that focus on a whole lot of different characters. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's like an ensemble cast of...
It's like if
people...
it's like if Joss Whedon wrote a Roland Emmerich film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roland Emmerich wrote Independence Day?
He directed Independence Day.
Directed.
Yeah.
Directed.
Yeah. So if Joss Whedon was the scriptwriter and Roland Emmerich was the director, you'd get something similar to this. So.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Right on.
So, yeah. Any other thoughts for Joel?
I'm very intrigued. I would like to, see the full story so I know what's happening. But I love the characterization of what's his name?
Swing, the little
Swing?
guy, the little guy.
Yeah.
The one who
The
likes
fun
chocolate.
little-
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Yeah, totally. So,
Because whenever I think Alien, I have a hard time not going the whole Nephilim route.
right.
It's nice having a good, fun, like, oh yeah, he's just a silly little green guy.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. Brendan said he'll be on in a little bit. Taking care of the kid. Okay. She says she has an interesting topic, both for here and maybe Broodcast. So she's planning on being on here. What is her topic here? Where do we draw the line between just letting people enjoy things versus speaking out because a story is so bad it must be stopped? I'm not sure what she's getting at, but I'm sure she'll give examples. So
I think it would be like, I feel like I know, but I can't put it into words. So yeah, letting her do it probably be the best.
sounds good. You're gonna be up next.
Okay.
Actually, I might do mine. Not sure which, but we can give it just a couple more minutes. See what happens. I'm going to remind people as they come in to go back and listen to Joel's thing so that he can get the benefit of hearing from people.
Yeah. I have a few ideas for things that I want to change in what I've written, but basically, I'm just making this part of my process. Y'all are just, this is the current state of my story. Where can I go? What can I change? What needs work?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what I want to share, to be honest with you. I have been writing a lot more, but it's been outline and world building stuff to get back into it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start writing actual chapters tomorrow, and that's going well. Nice. But I think probably my my stuff on the Jonacon religion, I briefly mentioned it in the Brood. It's a real world religion, fictional, but in the real world kind of a thing. So it's fictional, but it's meant for this world, right?
Fictional story set.
Right.
Her world.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Hey, baby, you going to bed?
I go to bed a little bit earlier.
But you're saying goodnight? Okay.
Yes.
Good Love night, you. Dada. Say goodnight, Mr. Daniel. Say goodnight. All right, take Bun Bun.
Good night.
Alrighty, close the door on your way out, okay? Thank you.
Not gonna lie. Sort of startled me.
What, her?
Yeah, I was just like focused on you and what you were saying, then all of a sudden movement. Oh,
it's all good.
Yeah.
So the Jonacon religion is part of my superhero world, Guardians of Atlanta. By the way, did you get your copy yet?
Did you send it in the mail?
Yeah. Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
How long ago did you send it?
Sometime last week. I don't remember. So
I'll look again whenever I get home.
Yep. And I have a link for you if you can't get it for whatever reason. So
okay.
But yeah. So any which way, the concept of this religion is that there's first of all, the people. The people are the Jonacon. They are a group of, and this is, a fictional group of people. They they are a wandering nomadic group loosely based on groups like the Romani, and stuff like that. real life, real world groups like the Gypsies, Gypsy Romani, you know, kind of thing, whatever. Gypsy is a pejorative to them, but you know what I mean. And so basically the origin of these people is a break off from Zoroastrianism. Are you familiar with Zoroastrianism? You're on mute, by the way. You're good.
I am actually. My dad, he's got this friend of his that is, he likes to joke around in a not so serious way.
Yeah.
But it is serious sometimes. That my dog is a member of that.
Because of the Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrians.
Zoroastrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like this old enemy. He's a veteran. I forget what the word it was. Probably oh goodness, I don't even remember, but he was like a sniper and he's a doctor. Very crass, very funny individual, but I feel like I'm sinning every time I laugh at anything he says.
Oh yeah, you've told me about him. But do you know about the religion though? The Zoroastrian religion?
It's been a second.
Okay. So the Magi were Zoroastrians in the Bible.
Oh yeah.
It's a very, very old religion. Basically comes down to and no one really knows when it started, but basically we know it came from a guy named Zoroaster, and he basically supposedly got a revelation from some kind of angel of the Lord sort of thing, basically stating there's a good God and a bad God, and they have their names. I won't go into all of that, but there's a good God and a bad God, and the good God is going to send his champion to save everyone. Really, really straightforward, messianic idea. You could totally see why the Zoroastrians were like, yes, we see it in the stars. Let's go.
I see.
And so the biggest difference is they have some very strange things about earth, wind, fire, earth, fire, water, mainly those three. Little bit wind, but that's up for debate. To the point where they believe that all the good things in the world are associated with, you know, the good God, and all the bad things like disease and pestilence and whatever are associated with the bad God. So in order to actually by treating anything that's good, and anything bad, you are essentially being right with the universe, so to speak. And so as a result, they don't bury their people because that would be polluting the ground. And they don't burn them because that would be polluting the fire. And so they don't very much anymore, erect these giant towers and basically take their bodies up to the top to be eaten by the birds.
Huh.
So yeah, weird, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very basic religion. And it's still a thing. Like there's like 20,000 around the world, something like that. It might be 200,000. I'm not sure. But like, they're not super well known, but they have a very basic thing. And all the anthropologists will say that they influenced Western Christianity, which is kind of backwards, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway. So this is an offshoot of that. All right. My fictional religion is an offshoot of that. Just before the release of the Black Plague in the 1300s, this group came about. Basically, you had this charismatic leader rise up. I don't have his name yet, but we get this charismatic leader, and he basically says, okay, I received messaging from the same deity that talked to Zoroaster, and what we have to do is leave and break off and do our own thing, and also return to listening. Are you still there? Yes. Okay. Listening to the spirits and the deities through essentially bringing shamanism back into the religion. And he says, basically, we have to wander from place to place, and only evil can defeat evil is the idea. And so basically we need to listen to the spirits and evil will defeat evil, and we need to have not influence the world as much as possible except where the spirits direct us. And so they become this wandering cult that wanders from like Afghanistan and China all the way over to Rome and in between. So hello, Kirith and Brendan.
Hello, it is we, the Strange Sunshines.
I like
Hello,
those strange
Dan.
sunshines. They're very nice.
Yes.
So
You're so
I'm
cute.
commandeering my nephew's room. He was in the other room watching some shows, and I was catching on my mic. So I'm commandeering his room.
cool. I was
You're
just
commandeering your nephew who will not break the cycle of violence.
Oh yeah, that was very quotable.
yes,
It
it
is
was.
very quotable.
I may have
They
to put
have
it
a
in somewhere at
tendency
some
to
point.
do stuff like that. Yeah, I honestly, I half the things that I write are based off of things I've heard them say. So
Right. But yeah, basically this this charismatic leader through getting everyone out before the Black Plague starts going crazy, also uses an evil spell to create a weapon. It's the second of its kind, and the weapon is a whole other thing that exists in the universe I won't go into tonight. But basically, this spell to create this kind of weapon always results in the creator dying shortly thereafter. And so he dies shortly thereafter, and the cult continues on even to modern day. So they've been around a long time, and they just wander. They're a wandering tribe. So that's the religion I created for my Jonacon people. So
I just found a wand.
I see that.
You were talking about a wizard, and I reach. And
I was.
what was that?
I don't remember mentioning shamans, but not
The
wizard.
shaman.
Yeah.
Same difference.
Oh boy, Brendan, do you
Boy,
want?
if you say shamans and wizards are the same again, I will smack you.
I was waiting.
That's why I've been taking Krav Maga. I'm ready.
All right, yeah, you win.
Oh goodness. Well, good to have you here, Brendan. We read Joel's story. Please make sure to go back.
No.
Please make sure to go back and listen to that when it comes out, so that you can give him some feedback. I want people to make sure they do. We just had to get the show started, so.
Let me see if I can predict my feedback for Joel.
Okay.
Great writing, great characters. What is the
Nice.
alien? Okay.
Exactly. That pretty much, yeah.
The alien was very cute this time, so there's that.
Right.
Yeah. Still had
Winning.
really no clue what he was, but it was cute.
Yep. So, all right. I kind of shared my little thing with people. Love to hear feedback on that from anyone who has it. Obviously, Brendan, you've kind of given me yours off air. Daniel, if you have any more thoughts on that, great. Otherwise, people who are listening later, you can give that to me in the Brood chat.
I really need to read it, but the vibe I get is very much like 80s hair metal and stuff. So
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if that's right, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, they're kind of they're a mix of everything, but they are kind of more Middle Eastern in their well, not Middle Eastern, Indian,
I'm so sorry.
Indian, Tibetan, Nepali, sort of thing. But yeah, no, totally.
Sorry.
But that, like I said, they're a mix of everything, though. So.
Oh, that was the cult. No, I am.
Oh, you were talking about something else?
I think I was talking about your other book.
Oh, okay.
That. My bad. The cult. Yes, very weird and cool and strange. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it made me think of my dog.
Okay.
My dog and
the Zoroastrianism thing. He has a friend of his father's who claims that his dog is a Zoroastrian.
It's pretty great. And I mean, the stories I've heard, this friend of mine, his name is Doc. It gets rather elaborate. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, actually, that might be on something.
Any which way.
I'm waiting for him to die, and his dog greets him and goes, "Stop! Why did you tell everyone I was Zoroastrian? Stop it!"
I'm
You
obviously
never
Buddhist.
told me that you weren't.
All right. Next one can be either Brendan or Daniel. I'm reading Daniel's tonight. Either way. This is Daniel and Aaron or just Daniel?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. It's me is my primary project. Aaron is my primary collaborator.
Got it.
So kind of how it's working is he's working on his book. I think he's calling it Will of the Wind or something.
Right.
I'm calling my book is The Maiden's Child. I'm reading chapter 2 of it tonight.
Okay.
It's a rough draft, so probably won't be chapter 2 as I go on later.
Okay.
But
Sounds
y'all
good.
hear the rough draft, and
Yep.
whenever I make necessary changes and
Yep. And keep yourself
Stuff.
muted when I'm reading. You don't need to explain anything.
yeah.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
It'll be good. I'll make it sound good. And then people will go, oh, it doesn't need a whole lot of changes. And you'll be like, but does it? And then we'll move from there. But, Kirith, did you have anything you wanted to share tonight or no?
Yeah, I haven't finished anything yet.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't leaving you out.
She
Okay.
wants to share stuff, but she feels like she needs to get it
I
like
need to
all
have my
done.
dog draft done before I
Whatever floats your boat, ma'am. Just saying. All right.
I'm telling her no, but she doesn't listen to me.
Aw. Well, okay. Yeah, do we want to do Brendan or Daniel next?
I'm kind of curious how you're gonna make me sound. So
Daniel.
All right, we'll do it.
Daniel.
it is my birthday.
All right.
Say that, so.
Happy birth, miss.
Here we go then. Chapter 2 of The Maiden's Child. Blood trickled off the flowers. Drip, drip, drip. The once peaceful garden had been ravaged by the footfall of hundreds of armed men running towards their doom. Katira, is that correct? I will ask about pronunciation. Katira?
Yes, it is Katira.
Got it. Okay. Katira extended a cautious hand out towards the fog. One of the men behind her placed a hand over her own. He said no words, but the warning was clear. Best not get too curious, the man whispered. Through his helm, Katira swore she could see a smile. Thank you, Katira said as she slowly moved her hand back to the strap of the satchel hanging off her shoulder. The knight walked alongside Katira protectively, eyes remaining on the fog surrounding them. The morning fog and a thick veil of smoke obscured much of the garden around them. For this, Katira was, in a sense, thankful she could not see many of the horrors sure to be unfolding around her. Greetings, friend. Is that Abigail? I can't tell. Nope, that's Ian. Hello, son. Is your mom doing okay? We've been praying for her. Oh, I can't.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
There we go.
She seems to be all right. Thank you for the prayers.
Yep. Cool. Sounds
That's
good.
awesome. Glad to hear it. Joshua's reading my stuff and he's making it sound so cool. Thank you.
You're
so much.
welcome. Anyway, all right. We'll get back to this one. I'm going to start here. I'm not sure exactly where I was. The morning fog and a thick veil of smoke obscured much of the garden around them. For this, Katira was, in a sense, thankful she could not see many of the horrors sure to be unfolding around her. She did her best to ignore the sounds and smells of the battle raging around her as the meager force surrounding her. And the meager force surrounding her. 6 men, including Picken and... Is that Picken or Piken?
Piken.
Piken and the injured Valden?
Yep.
And Lina?
Yes. Leanna.
Leanna. Got it. Okay. All right, let's start. Piken and the injured Valden guarded Katira, Leanna, and the child within Leanna's womb. Katira looked to her right. Leanna was accompanied by a heavily armored soldier who bore much of her weight. Behind these four stood Valden, who despite his injuries remained determined. There was a final soldier who accompanied them. He seemed more worried about his comrade than the obscuring fog. Katira's attention returned to the path ahead of them. "Just a bit further till we reach the stables," Piken whispered softly. "Remain calm and alert." He paused. "And very quiet." A short while longer the group came to a clearing. Something was terribly wrong. Torchlight suddenly shone through the fog. Within moments, Katira and company were surrounded. "Give us the woman!" a shrill voice croaked. The sex of the creature was indiscernible, as was its location in relation to the group. Another voice sounded through the fog. "Forfeit the woman and the child in her belly, or your deaths will be most painful." A chorus of wicked laughter followed this command. Katira gripped Leanna's shoulder protectively. "Look for the eyes, men," Valden shouted. Yes, the eyes are the best part," came the voices. The voices became indistinct. The cacophony of shrill laughter and vicious clanking of weaponry crept closer. Something clawed at Katira's skirt, pulling her hard. She managed to keep her footing long enough for the soldier accompanying her to slash his blade through the air. A warm purple liquid spewed from the from the area where Katira's skirt was held aloft seconds ago. A goblin materialized into the visible world, screaming hideously. "I told you not to get that close, you idiot!" Another goblin croaked from the relative security of the fog. The soldier to Katira's left pushed behind him protectively, but before he could act, the sound of wings flapping sounded overhead, diverting his attention upwards. And then suddenly, everything fell silent. The goblin in front of Katira clutched his stump pitifully. A bright yellow light illuminated the ground where they all stood. Katira looked through the chaos and the fog. A man, a winged man, descended from the sky overhead. The fog seemed to come alive and then suddenly retreated. Katira could now see the swarm of glowing yellow eyes that had encircled the group. Countless goblins on every side, barely visible to eyes belonging their enemies. Okay. These eyes, appearing almost as a swarm of flittering insects to the soldiers, began to slowly back away as the winged warrior landed on the ground in front of Piken. The soldiers had created a tight circle around Katira and Leanna. The women clung to each other tightly. They remained at each other's side, even as the soldiers seemed to relax at the arrival of the newcomer. Katira began to snap into her ear. Snap in her. She was horrified to discover that her hearing had suddenly failed her. Leanna placed a soft hand on her shoulder. Katira turned her attention to the other woman. Leanna pointed a slender finger in the direction of their newfound ally. The winged warrior spread his wings. They were nearly twice the length of his body. Katira watched in amazement as the warrior wrapped his wings around himself and, in a moment, unfurled them in a powerful sweeping movement. The air around them began to move about strangely. Katira extended her hand out between herself and Leanna. The air felt as if it were moving in unnatural rhythmic patterns. Within mere seconds of Katira raising her hand, sound had returned. Katira stared in amazement as the swarm of eyes around them blinked, and then suddenly a chorus of pained screams could be heard. At once, all the goblins had become visible and were writhing about in pained expressions. "Now's the time, men!" Piken roared. "My bloody ears!" excuse me, my bloody ears! That thing destroyed my bloody ears! A goblin shrieked. Systematically, the men began to tear apart what remained of the goblins. Some attempted in vain to fight, but most, being deafened and afraid, ran in terror. As the men quelled the threat, the fog began to return. The winged warrior flicked his wings, and the fog began to drift around them. Piken, his 4 men, and Valdin slammed a strong hand to their chests in a salute. The winged man finally opened his mouth to speak. As he did so, Katira yelped as her ears popped painfully. So it's apologies, it looks like, but it's the tail end of apologies because he's fading in the... Yeah, he's fading in the sound. Ligees, my friend, I did my best. The sound which carried the man's voice faltered. He continued to speak, but no sound escaped his lips. He cocked his head to the side upon realizing none could hear him. He placed a hand over a silver amulet which hung off his neck. Sound returned at last. Still working on that. You must be more careful where you step, I'm afraid. Piken cleared his throat. Thank you, Javan. Javan or Javan, what is it? Daniel? Okay.
Sorry, I was looking at the manuscript trying to figure out where you were.
Page 3 toward the top. Thank you, Javan.
Page 3.
Javan.
Yeah, we'll go with that, Javan.
Okay. Thank you, Javan. We must get to the stables. Keep watch. Javan, the winged man nodded. Yes, sir, he replied. The others are waiting for you there. Others? Does he mean other heralds? The thought registered with Katira finally. This man was a herald. The amulet on his neck bore a yellow gemstone. Topaz. Male. Second order. Javan flipped his wings and shot up into the sky above with unnatural speed. The soldiers around Katira had already resumed their trek to the stables on the other side of the barren field when Valdin noticed Katira was not with them. He turned back to see her entranced, looking towards the heavens above. Cat, are you all right? Valdin asked. Oh, the soldiers chuckled. Come along, dear, Leanna chimed. There are stranger things to see yet. How are you feeling, milady? This is later. How are you feeling, milady? Katira asked as the group neared the doorway on the side of the stables. You must stop calling me that, Leanna grimaced. It makes me feel far too important. But you are, Katira added jovially. That is not helping. The women turned and shared an affectionate smile as Piken began to knock on the heavy oak door. Valdin, to Katira's surprise, and against her many warnings, placed himself in front of the group. Piken stuck 2 fingers into his mouth and whistled loudly, his lack of chainmail providing him with a fair amount of dexterity. No need for that. I'm here. Javan announced his presence to the group silently. Katira studied her surrounding, but the guardian remained unseen, though his voice sounded as though he was standing right next to them. No one who doesn't need to can hear us. Who doesn't need to? Okay. Just move quickly. I see a car about a mile out. The fort has been overtaken. Piken and Valdin stood at the door ready. Behind them stood Katira and Leanna, and bringing up the rear were all 4 soldiers accompanying them. All appeared to be human or elf. All stood shoulder to shoulder with the other. Come, follow me, Piken whispered, signaling for the women to follow him through the threshold. Piken and Valdin entered the wooden building quickly. They moved with efficiency and purpose. 2 men stayed by the door for a moment. It reeks like hell in here, a man said behind Katira. I bet it smells better there, another added. Leanna suddenly stopped and glared at the men disapprovingly. Sorry, madam. The 2 men bowed their heads apologetically. Katira supported Leanna as they moved further into the building. Katira was careful to avoid piles left behind by the marks. The ceiling was vaulted. Light from the sun was...
Mares.
What is it? Mares? Mares. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, mares.
I see it.
Horses,
I see it
mares.
now. I see it now. Some of the E's and C's are weird in this size font from where my eyes are sitting. So the ceiling was vaulted. Light from the sun was pouring into the room. As the soldiers looked upwards, they saw that the ceiling was designed to be in two parts. A line ran parallel to the ground to allow for natural lighting. The walls were lined with stalls, each one occupied by a horse. Katira's eyes scanned the stalls on either side, looking for the one they needed as they led Leanna further down the middle of the hallway towards a pile of hay that she could be seated on. "Perhaps our flying friend can help you tune out the ruckus?" Katira whispered to Leanna as the men began to watch over the door. "I don't know. Milady? I need to sit down." Leanna sounded weary, more so than she did just moments ago. Katira spun into action. "Let me have a look, love." Katira aided Leanna to the ground. A feminine figure in black dress leapt to aid Katira in assisting the queen to the ground. The woman knelt over the queen, moving in tandem. They did their best to ensure the queen was as comfortable as possible. Concern swept across Katira's face as she studied this woman. She wore a hood and a veil which obscured her face. "Is there a problem, my dear?" the dark-clad woman questioned Katira. "I promise you I am here to help keep our queen alive." The woman continued, as if sensing Katira's unease as she retrieved a delicate pendant bearing a diamond in the center from somewhere deep inside the billows of her tunic. "I, Rin, sister of the Final Order, do solemnly swear that I will do everything in my power to keep our queen alive." She returned her pendant into the depths of her tunic. Queen? Realization suddenly flooded Katira. She had realized that Leanna was a noble woman. She was unaware how noble she truly was. "I may be in over my head here." Leanna sighed loudly. "You weren't supposed to say that." "In my defense, how many noble women have a team of 7 heralds at their disposal?" Katira felt a sudden wave of nausea threaten to overtake her. "Sister, remember your oaths." Katira regained her composure as she listened to the conversation unfolding. 7? A man sounded from somewhere in the stable. His voice boomed from one of the stables nearer to the haystack. Katira wiped beads of sweat from her brow as she assessed the queen's progress. "Yes," Rin replied as she placed her amulet in on Leanna's temple. Color suddenly rushed back into Leanna's face. "Our friend on the roof, Maya, Piken, Gareth, Valden, you, my dear, and myself." "I see. I suppose I didn't think to consider the boy to be among our ranks just yet," a male voice Katira didn't recognize replied. "Now's as good a time as any," Rin chimed. "I suppose," the man sounded moderately annoyed. "I just don't love the thought of handing a child—" "A young man," Rin interrupted. "A young man something so powerful." The man grumbled from the other side of the stable. Katira cleared her throat. Rin nodded, and the conversation fell silent. There you are. That's Daniel's story. We got a whole crowd now. Hello, everyone.
Darn it. I was just got here to hear the end of that, and I'm a co-author.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that is the beauty of recording.
Hello.
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 So sorry.
Okay.
Hey, Brett, I forgot his name again.
Daniel,
the Oklahoman.
Alex. Alex.
Oh, Ted. Ted. My name is Ted, remember?
Yes, Ted the Oklahoma.
Right, Ted. Hi, Ted.
Attention, soldiers of creativity. Fall out for a commercial break.
I'm Ian Wilson, and I create graphic art using primarily traditional methods, supplementing with digital where it's needed. I use a real pen, a real paper, a real graphite to make my art. I like to feel my art. I've always been this way. I love the feeling of a pen or pencil in my hand, the sound of graphite scratching paper, and I love the sight of a nice black line making its way across the page. So why choose traditional art over digital? Traditional art has an organic, natural quality that seems to be missing from most digital illustrations. The illustrated books and comics that were made in the days before digital have an excellence and staying power that is just as vibrant now as it was decades ago. These are the stories that stay with you. Dr. Seuss, Winnie the Pooh, Where the Wild Things Are. People still read these. I'm currently working on my own graphic novel series, Legend of the Swordbearer, and I've also had the privilege to draw graphics for 2 motion comic series, along with illustrations for a small magazine, Logosophia magazine, and various book covers. Don't let traditional art fade into the dust. Help me keep it alive. You won't regret it. Visit my website at ianthomaswilson.com for more info.
Attention all Christian writers and creative peoples! Are you searching for a place to share your work and receive encouragement from fellow wordsmiths? Look no further than the Broodcast. Inspired by the legendary Inklings of old, a group of writers who banded together during the Second Great War. The Broodcast is your monthly gathering for inspiration, fellowship, and critique. Join us as we share our stories and support our fellow soldiers on our creative missions. Enlist in the Broodcast community today at joshuadavidling.com/brood. Travel cyberspace. Serve the greatest cause. Join the ranks of the Brood today. Soldiers, reclaim your positions. We've emerged unscathed from the commercial onslaught to continue our noble quest on Poets at War.
Hi,
So
kids.
this is my youngest sister, Joe.
Hello. Good to meet you.
Hello.
Just real quick.
This is Brendan, Daniel, Joshua, Aaron, Ian, and Abigail.
And this is Brendan's wife, Kirith.
Yep, her
Oh.
too.
Oh,
Sorry, your video is not coming in, so I just assumed that it was you because I knew you weren't here.
For some reason,
Oh,
Joe
baby.
didn't know.
All right, now that chaos is over.
so, question.
Feedback, yeah. Let's go Aaron first because
Who
he's a
said it's
co-author.
over?
Oh, I know, right?
So, I can't give feedback yet because I haven't read this, and again, I just got here for the end. So
That's okay.
Dan,
You can
I have to
go
ask,
back and listen to it.
What section did
Yeah.
you read? What section did you read, Dan?
He just read chapter 2.
Just chapter 2, so not anything else?
Correct.
I mean, he's read chapter 1, which I'm gonna have to go back and change some things.
Well,
But
we already know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, just chapter 2.
Just
He
chapter
just
2.
read chapter 2.
You have some things in chapter 3 that wasn't read.
I haven't fully written chapter 3 yet.
All right. So while other people are giving their criticisms, I'll reread it and hopefully I can finish it to give criticism.
Okay, cool.
Sounds like a plan.
Other criticisms from anybody? I had 2 very brief ones. If you want me to start off.
I think I heard
The
that.
entire thing was terrible. All that I heard of it was awful. You
All
should
of it
rewrite
needs
the
to
entire
be
thing.
Like immediately. Like just start from scratch, honestly, would be better.
Nice.
Love you too. Nice.
Okay, but the 2
Love
things
you, man.
were the whole winged warrior thing. It's good to use, but when you go the winged warrior something his wings, you're saying the word wings too much.
Yeah.
And you can hear
yeah,
it, right? Yeah.
Whenever I hear it, whenever I hear that, I definitely, I hear you.
The only other thing is really like some spelling things that I was seeing visually. Leanna's spelled weird almost throughout the whole entire thing. Like it changes several times.
Oh yeah.
But
for whatever reason, I got you. Like I said, rough draft.
Yep. Anyway, other thoughts from people. Yes.
First of all, I would like to state for the record that if I did not know that you had written it, I would probably buy this book.
Hey, look at that.
Yay.
Secondly, you need to vary your sentence structure.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm hearing a lot of he did this, he did, and then he did this, 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 which is fine if you want to use it like once a paragraph or once a page. That's
Right.
fine. But to use that same sentence structure over and over again, I did that in my first book, first draft. The first time I published my first book, and then somebody pointed it out, and then I was really embarrassed, so I took it down, rewrote it, and then did it again. And then now it just makes me cringe. So vary your sentence structure.
But it is good.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm right now. I'm in the process of just trying to get it all out, and I think. Oh goodness! Whenever you give
word
me enough
vomit.
time,
Do it.
yeah. No, I wrote like 3,000 words, like in a Saturday. On a
That's
Saturday
enough.
evening.
Yep.
So I need to just do that a lot more.
Yeah, there you go. Brendan.
Get it done.
So I 100% agree with Ian, and I'm so glad that he said what he said, because I was having a hard time articulating what my criticism was, which is you need to vary your sentence structure.
Yeah.
That being said, rather than say, like, I'm going to be honest, it needs work, in my opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
But that it's a rough draft. You already said that. You're going to be massaging this. So as you go through, I would highly recommend, this has nothing to do with writing, but I would highly recommend looking up videos, the video essays from a YouTube channel called Every Frame a Painter. Now that seems weird, because Every Frame a Painter is it's a video essays about film form. So why would I say to you, look up stuff about film?
Right.
The short answer is he talks about particular techniques for film form and how they go, how they're used and things like that. But one of the things that he mentions in one of his essays is this thing that a South Park writer was talking about, and it's covering that and then. You don't want to have this and then this and then this. The two words you want are but and therefore.
Ooh.
They're going through the fog, but then they hear the torches, therefore they stop. But then the voices start speaking. So therefore what? And you have this back and forth, and it makes the story much more dynamic and reactive, as the characters are actually having agency rather than just things are happening.
Yeah.
Right. And on top of that, he has a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a thing on shapes that talks about the shapes of scenes and how you don't want it to just be this person and then this person says and then this person says, and you do what he calls reverse shot, because that's the technical term. He says instead frame your scene in such a way so that you see all three actors at once when the dialogue happens. Now for dialogue, when you're writing, you can't do that, but you don't have to say this person says this, then this person says this person says. You don't have to give their name every time.
Right.
If you have their voice sufficiently their own, when somebody reads the line, they should be able to say, oh, that's Kate or Kat, or oh, that's Pikey, or oh, that's the winged guy. Which, by the way, were the wings bat or feather wings?
Feathered wings.
Yeah, you need to specify
Dialogue is
that.
fine.
What's that, Debbie?
Dialogue is fine. I love dialogue.
Dialogue's
And by that I mean banter. That is kind of the only kind of dialogue I write, but I'm good at it. So
she is.
I'm not
It's
saying
fine.
the dialogue. I'm not saying the dialogue is bad. I'm saying the framing of the dialogue needs a little bit of work.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it can be fun to do and write. Write dialogue.
She was just making a side comment from what you were
About
talking
dialogue,
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't talking about mine. I think they came in at the very end and didn't really hear much of
Correct.
the stuff.
I heard nothing. We heard the last maybe 2 sentences.
It's okay.
All right.
But no, just double down on what Brendan was saying about every frame of painting. He is a really fantastic video essayist who loves the medium of film so much, and because of his love for it and because of how eloquently he is able to share his love for the medium, he ends up hitting across some really, really good advice for any form of storytelling, from film to TV to writing to audio drama, just because film kind of encompasses all of those things.
Right.
So definitely go check out Frame of Painting.
Gotcha.
Darkness
Aaron is going nuts over here for some reason.
Aaron,
I'm saying,
go ahead,
keep
Aaron.
talking to give me time to finish
okay.
this. I'm 1 page away from done. Keep
In that regard, I can announce one thing and get to who else needs to and wants to share tonight. Let me do the one announcement really quick. I am taking a hiatus on everything but Broodcast right now due to the amount of work that is starting to come my way so that I can focus on it and get it going. However, it is also a time where I am hoping to back off on that in order to kind of refocus Poets at War in particular. It's kind of been in a weird space that I haven't been happy with. And I want to get back to more interviews, and I want to get back to some other things. I also want to move away from some formats and things. So that I'm not going to go into all the details on that, but it's going to be a lot more streamlined. Brendan and Alex are both helping me with it to try and get it a lot better and a lot more streamlined. So that will be coming soonish. I'm thinking end of summer, beginning of fall, probably for sure after Alex's wedding. Alex and Debbie's wedding. So, with that, who else wants to share tonight? Hands. Show of hands. Brendan? Who else? Show of hands wants to share. How many we got? Aaron, maybe? Okay.
What are we voting for?
Who wants to share tonight?
Share it with someone.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not voting. Unless you want to be voted out.
Right.
If
Abby,
you don't want to hear from anybody.
Abigail's the imposter.
You hate people.
Abigail, you gonna share?
Yep.
You gonna share tonight?
Kick me out.
Totally.
Are you gonna share tonight or no, Abigail?
Yeah, I have a a concept that I think would interest people, so I can share that.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, Debbie, did you seriously just make an Among Us joke? Really?
Yes, I did. What are you gonna do about it? Call an emergency meeting?
I think half of us here are
Gonna
Gen
jump in a
Z,
vent
so
and hide.
Attract.
Okay.
What did you say, Brendan?
I said I'm gonna jump in a vent and hide.
I saw Brendan vent multiple times in the brood. Kind of a lot, actually.
Okay. So,
Okay,
Aaron,
you're sitting in the fridge, so I'm going to mute you.
I have finished the chapter, so now I can provide some criticism.
Sounds good. Then
I
we can
have
get
to
on
read
to our
through
next
it
person.
quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, essentially, the first thing I can say is that you do write action well, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes. It's the Krav Maga showing, hopefully.
Yes, actually.
Maybe I don't know anything about Krav Maga.
It's martial arts in general. You're thinking physically.
Yes. But
Need to get back to fighting.
And in action scenes, what is good that you have done is, like, you don't necessarily understand everything that's going on. You shouldn't in an action scene that's supposed to be intense like this. But I also don't understand everything that's going on. So there's that. The ideas for the magic system you put in here, they might work. The magic system does need a lot developed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to talk about it more.
Basically, I wanted it to be so ingrained in the world that somebody who looks at this person, they're doing something magical. I know the story. Like, I know it just
intuitively.
because of how intuitive and ingrained it is upon the senses. So I really wanted to play around with, like, auditory perception as just, like, a cool thing for this guy who's got air-based powers. It's not just like tornadoes and stuff.
Which, by the way, visually, the way you conveyed that with the text was very good. I know they couldn't see it,
Yay!
but it was very good the way that you wrote
funny
it.
that that's funny because deaf.
Yeah, no, exactly. I immediately thought of that. So
The
Yeah,
goblin.
so that helped, I think.
Yes. The goblin invisibility not hiding the eyes, though, that was a very interesting idea, and I think I have a way to explain that.
Well, I mean, how would they see? My
we'll get
thinking
to
is
this,
that they-
guys.
Yeah, sorry.
You guys can get to this
Exactly.
on the next one. We got
You
some
got
people
it,
to share.
Jen. We can move on now. But you got what I was
Awesome.
going for.
Awesome, guys. Okay, is TK with us this evening or no, Ian? I forgot to ask about her, just in case she wants to share.
She's here. She's like
Do you want to share as well?
proof of life.
Do you want to share as well, TK?
TK's alive.
Do you?
Yes, I just have to find a part that's not spoilery.
Okay.
You do.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we've got
Awesome.
1, 2, maybe 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure. And possibly a 5th with Aaron. Okay. All right.
Oh boy, we're gonna have to go fast.
So it's all good. It's all good. Brendan's going to be next, if that's fine with everybody. He was here first, so we'll just go in that order for now. I didn't see who else showed up in what order, but we can talk about it after Brendan. So Brendan to be next.
Fight. Okay.
Coming to you live from.
I in the Green Dragon tap room. I threw a PDF. That is the most recent variation of episode 2 of the script. The script that is on, because I still don't have a name for this series. Because, man, if anybody has seen Shakespeare in Love, they know that names are the worst. But anyway, my strange references aside, I'm going to just introduce a character tonight. We'll have the scene where he gets introduced. I could do the lead in, but I want to try to leave some people time, so we'll just start. Anybody who's actually following along, we are starting halfway through page 4, which is page 5 on the PDF because it counts the title page as page 1, but whatever. We are starting on Exterior Terra Parvis Road Day. This is right after a montage that I'm hoping is funny. That's kind of like the Are We There Yet scene from Shrek, but not. Where Ava's trying to figure out where they need to go, and Aram is being entirely unhelpful. So, after this montage, it ends with them on this road, and Ava saying, "How are you supposed to go somewhere if you don't know where it is?" Aram finally snapping, "Look, as someone who disappeared from the battle, I must atone for being away. This atonement can only be done at a high place. So even if I could return home, I need to do this first. Now, will you please let me think in silence?" Ava looks a little sad, but agrees, and Aram begins to earnestly pray. As he does, mist slowly begins to roll off of the plants. A deep rumble occurs as clouds block the sun. Rain starts to drip, and thunder rumbles. Again, Ava frowns. Strange. There wasn't supposed to be a storm today. Aram continues to pray, and as he does, the mist and fog roll deeper around them. The horse continues forward, but it starts to become nervous and uneasy. The sound builds through the line between diegetic and non-diegetic. The sound builds, though the line between diegetic and non-diegetic gets blurred. Ava, "Whoa, easy, Chester. It's okay, boy." Aram's prayer gets more focused until suddenly there's a drastic jolt as the cart lurches from getting caught on a root. Scene change, though not. Exterior, summer forest edge, night. Aram stands up from the back of the cart. He peers into the dense fog they've been surrounded by. Ava hops off the cart and examines the wheel. "No damage, it just got stuck in this rut." Aram frowns as he looks up and around. Ava hasn't noticed anything odd yet. Ava, "Hey, could you help me out?" Aram doesn't look at her, but hops off the cart next to where she is. He grabs the cart, and with some strain, he hoists it out of the crater caused by the root. Ava notices he seems to struggle for a moment, but quickly looks away from him and helps. As this happens, there's the sound of a metal hinge swinging, and out of the fog walks the pilgrim. He looks 30-ish. He's a cheerful-looking young man with platinum blonde hair, probably going to change, and mostly plain robe with Celtic knotwork subtly woven into areas of the robe. The sound coming from the lantern comes from a lantern that he is carrying, a golden fiery light shining from out from it. Aram looks over and puts his hand on Ava's shoulder. She looks up and sees the pilgrim walking over. Ava, hi there! The pilgrim, hail, fellow travelers! Ava to Aram, he sounds like you. Aram doesn't reply. The pilgrim, where are you going, my friends? Ava, well... Ava looks at Aram for an answer, but he doesn't. Ava, we were just talking about that. My friend needs to go to a high place? The pilgrim, well, I tend shrines around here, and, sorry. I tend to shrines here on the road. Perhaps one of them could serve for your purpose. Ava looks at Aram. Would that work for what you need? Aram considers. Aram, perhaps, as long as it's significant. As long as it is significant. No contraction. The pilgrim, it is significant, my friend. Aram seems to search the man with his eyes, then nods. They start to walk together, the pilgrim leading the way. Ava, I don't remember this shrine. Is it off the path? The pilgrim, yes, most of them are. Ava, them? The pilgrim, there are a number of shrines around. I have taken it upon myself to maintain them. It is, he pauses to think, it is my pilgrimage, but unlike most which have a set destination, mine will go on indefinitely. Ava, genuinely marveling, wow. The group comes upon the shrine. It is a plain stone altar with an empty plate and an empty plain goblet. Numerous unlit candles are on the outside, and an incense burner designed with a winged bull, lion, man, and eagle is in the back. The pilgrim approaches and turns to Aram. The pilgrim, may I prepare the shrine for your use first? Aram looks over the iconography, then turns to the pilgrim and nods. The pilgrim lowers his hood and then moves forward to the altar. He brushes leaves off and pulls some vines away from the base and the sides of the altar. He lights the candles and puts a stick of incense in the holder and lights it too. He uses a stick that he lights from the lantern. He then pours wine into the goblet from a wineskin that he pulls out from under his cloak. Oh, I forgot to mention he also puts a piece of bread on the plate. Stepping back, he surveys his handiwork before putting up his hood, stepping to the side, and with an after you like hand motion, to Aram. Aram removes his greaves and steps barefoot to the altar. He kneels in front of it, head bowed. He whispers. Meanwhile, Ava scoots over to the pilgrim. What do you think he's saying? The pilgrim. He's asking for absolution. Ava. We are trying to bring him home. He says he needed to atone for being away from whatever war they're fighting. The pilgrim. Yes. The question is if he is asking for absolution for what he has done or what he has not done. Ava looks at the pilgrim quizzically, but he continues to just smile at Aram. Aram stands up, turns, and nods to Ava. She then turns to the pilgrim, holding out her hand. Ava, thanks for helping us. I'm Ava. The pilgrim quickly looks down at her for a moment. He looks serious, but then he relaxes and his smile comes back with a slight look of pity on his face. He takes her hand gently. The pilgrim. Oh, it is very dangerous to say your true name here, my dear. Best keep that to yourself. He lowers himself, giving the gesture of kissing the hand without actually doing it. Ava, confused. What? I don't understand. This isn't that dangerous a region. The pilgrim cocks his head to the side. Where do you think you are? Ava, now unsure. We should be approaching... I have a placeholder name here for the city. It's called Sora, because Joshua told me to do that. The pilgrim. Oh, my dear, you are most not definitely there anymore. Aram, whispering. No. Ava looks up at Aram. He is stiff as a board and is staring intensely, maybe suspiciously, at the pilgrim. Ava looks back and forth between them. Ava, what's going on? The pilgrim, thinking about how to explain this. Do you remember stories of the forest folk? Ava, you mean satyrs and dryads? The Pilgrim. Ah, yes. Well, that was your name for them, wasn't it? Well, reveal a beauty shot of the summer forest in its full grandeur. The Pilgrim. Welcome to the realm of the Fae. And that's where we'll stop tonight. Silent applause.
There we are. Go ahead.
I am sending thoughts and prayers.
Is it just me or does the Pilgrim give off like black trench coat, top hat vibes?
Yeah, he does.
Does? Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Oh no, Alex is frozen. No.
Alex, no.
He has been betrayed. Oh, there he is. He's moving again. I don't know if he can hear
Why
us.
is he still in a car? Oh, he's in the back.
You are wearing a turtleneck and it's like 80 bajillion degrees.
Right now it is 97 degrees outside.
And you're wearing a turtleneck.
Yes.
Sir.
I was ice skating, as I said.
Okay.
They were on a date.
Yeah.
I see. Cooties.
So,
Yuck.
so he's not supposed to give off black trench coat, top hat vibes.
He definitely does, though.
He didn't to me.
I clearly need to make him more jovial and or gentle and or.
I thought black
He's
trench
getting,
coat
like-
and a top hat meant jovial and jumpy.
Well, I mean, like, magician. Like, he's
Yeah.
scary and frightening. Like, I don't know what he's about to do or pull out of that cloak, but at the same time, I have no reason to not trust mixed
You're saying
mixed
Willy
feelings.
Wonka.
Humorous.
He gave off Friar Tuck vibes to me.
Okay, I'm glad that Alex got that vibe because that was kind of what, not Friar Tuck specifically, but that sort of.
He's wandering priest, wandering monk.
Right.
Exactly. I think
The
it'll.
impression that
Sorry, go on, Ian.
the impression that I was getting was, okay, I'm an ignorant heathen, and Abigail is going to get irritated with me because of this. But I watched the TV show Cadfile. I didn't know until recently that they were books. So I'm getting like a Cadfile thing from him.
I mean, the Cadfile books are so good, you have to read them. Okay.
There, see?
Hi, Abigail.
See, Aaron and I, we had this expression as we were playing our games, making up the story, where we would often hear, and our friends would say, and we would tell our friends, it became a reoccurring joke, don't trust the trees. So I see the guy coming out of the fog and stuff, I'm already predisposed to be like, where's my gun?
Well, I think that once we have a visual and what like there's going to be like here's the problem with scripts, and it's something that I've been noticing time and time again as I share things here. You don't get the visual. And this is meant to be portrayed visually. I think once we get the actual character in front of you and the which reminds me, actually, hold on. Let me go into the Green Dragon Taproom and throw an image that Joshua's been helping me with just creating
just scratch images. Yeah, just scratch images.
They're scratch images, so they will be dumped, but we're using AI just for the purposes of the pitch itself.
Concept, yeah.
It's concept stuff.
It's AI concept art.
Yeah.
That is what we got for the Pilgrim in the Green Dragon Taproom.
I'll head over there for people to see it. Yeah, there we go.
So I think once we get the actual acting and a better voice actor, because I was thinking of having him be Irish.
Okay. Yeah, now that I see what he looks like, he is very much more trustworthy.
I was imagining somebody older. But that's just what I picked up.
I think that's the problem is most of us are Gen Z and you said 30 and then young man. Sorry.
I'm 34, sir.
I was not going off of the way he was described. I was literally just going off of the vibe that he gave off, and I was imagining someone not a bunch older, but like early 40s, maybe a couple streaks of gray, something like that, is what I was imagining just based off of the vibes. I can totally see how it's this person, though.
So what if I told you that he wasn't human and he was actually ancient?
I mean,
totally
I kind of
believe it.
assume strange man approaches me in the woods.
I'm picking up what you're putting down in the script, dude.
He's not human.
I'm picking up what you're putting down in the script.
Yeah.
Did you all pick up on all the awesome iconography that he was putting into that altar?
Yes.
I did not, I don't think.
Yes. Yes.
I heard
the signs of the evangelists.
Ooh.
And
wait a second
and the
now.
cup and the plate.
Yep.
Oh.
And you said he put a piece of bread out on there as well. So
what
you've
page
got
is that on?
communion going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
This is the
I
part
noticed.
where
I get you.
This is the part where anybody with a moniker of Christian education, all subtlety goes out the window.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But,
you know that this guy is a good guy.
But at the same time, the context of what you're presenting is completely disconnected from the allegory of the whole thing, you know? So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Other feedback for Brendan.
I liked it. I think the reveal of the Feywild, like going from this gray, misty area, everything shrouded in secrecy, mysterious guy, even though dressed in colorful stuff, all that. I think that's great. And then revealing a colorful world that he fits better in than the gray mist is going to be fantastic. I think that visually that's going to be incredible, especially with the art stuff. Like you said, the problem with scripts is that you can't see it. I've always read books visually, where I'm like composing the shots in my head. How is this going to be shot and that type of stuff, which is why I think I'm picking up a lot of what you're putting down. But yes, the way that you described it, how it's like, oh, dude, you are not there anymore, and then the fog clears. Like, does the camera zoom or cut or anything like that, or is it just like the fog clearing and maybe like a dolly forward, and then you see everything?
Yeah, In my head, it's they're walking. They start walking. I didn't say that, but basically they crest a ridge out of the fog, and there is in sort of like this valley, sort of like a more
like Rivendell,
chaotic Lothlorien.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
That's basically what I was saying. I think that reveal is going to be fantastic, especially at the beginning of episode 1. Or in episode 2, not 2, or not 1, 2.
Yeah.
I think that having that to set the tone from, because end of episode 1 is the fight scene, and then like a little bit of cool down, and then they start leaving, right?
It's the fight scene happens. Then there is quite a bit of discussion, actually. Then there is the actual commitment to doing the journey, but they don't leave. They leave at the beginning of episode 2. There's a brief conversation on the road while they're still in Earth, and then when Aram is praying, when the mist drops, that's when they get flipped into the Feywild.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
All right.
I think that's fantastic.
Do we want to throw it to the Wilsons? Either one to start. Does that sound good with everyone?
Yeah.
All right. You guys are sort of like middle of the pack most of the time, so we'll keep that tradition going.
All right.
Wilson. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard that a million times.
I like you guys, okay?
Good resist.
Anyway, so I'm going to read chapter 2 of my current ongoing work in progress which is entitled Heart of the Stars. It's about a little boy in Vermont who discovers something unexpected, and I'll get to the details on that later. Chapter 2. Chapter 1. Eddie Small and his, I think we introduced his parents, his best friend, Bucky.
Bucky's life living circumstances.
And Bucky's living circumstances, and the wizard Azariah. He's going to come out and say he's a wizard. Everybody knows by now he's a wizard. He's obviously a wizard. He's got a beard. He's got a stick. He's a wizard.
He's a lizard, Harry.
As we all know,
He's a
everyone
very
with a beard and a stick is a wizard. This is just science.
Absolutely. He's a hairy wizard. All right, so here's chapter 2. We're going to talk a little bit about Eddie's mom. Edith Small was not your typical housewife. Then again, her husband was no typical man. She had a habit of wearing peasant dresses, rarely wore shoes in the warmer month. Let me read that sentence again, since I screwed that up. She had a habit of wearing peasant dresses and rarely wore shoes in the summer months. Combined with her short stature at about 5 feet tall, led many to refer to her as Hobbit. She would sing, dance around the kitchen when the mood struck her, which was frequent. Sometimes she would take Fred by his front paws and dance with him, which Fred pretended to enjoy, but usually did not. Sometimes she would play her banjolele, which frightened Fred into hiding somewhere in the house. He would tolerate a great deal from his hosts, but simply could not abide the sound of the banjolele. This particular day found Edith dancing around the kitchen to the tune of Say Darlin' Say as she made dinner. The smell of pot roast permeated the dwelling with its warm, inviting scent. It was about the third chorus when the boys came through the front door. "Hi, Mom," said Eddie. "Hello, Mrs. Small," said Bucky. "Oh, good, you're back," she said cheerily. "Did you have fun?" "For the most part," said Bucky. "Thorwald showed up again," said Eddie glumly. "Did you hit him?" asked Dr. Small as he passed through the kitchen. "Yeah, I hit him all right," said Eddie. "Stout fellow," said Dr. Small, ruffling the boy's hair as he returned to the den. "When will that boy learn to leave you alone?" asked Edith exasperatedly. "I guess I'll have to hit him again until he learns," said Eddie. "There's got to be a better way," said Edith. "Well, that weird old man certainly helped," said Bucky. "What weird old man?" inquired Edith. "The one we met by the river," replied Bucky. "He was super cool, like a wizard. He scared off Thorwald's goons." "Since when does Thorwald have goons?" asked Edith with a laugh. "Every Dark Lord needs minions," said Bucky with a shrug. "Thorwald is hardly a Dark Lord," said Eddie. "He's basically a minion himself." "Yeah, but whose minion is he?" asked Bucky. "I want to hear about this old man," said Edith. "Well, he was dressed kind of like a gypsy," said Eddie. "He had white hair, and he was really tall and thin, and his eyes were this weird color." "And you've never met him before?" asked Edith. "No," said Eddie. Their conversation was interrupted by a loud ding as Edith's timer went off. "Oh, that's the roast," she said. "Will you be staying for supper at Bucky?" "Please and thank you," said Bucky. "Good," she replied. "Eddie, go tell your father supper is ready. He's in the den." The two boys then entered the den, where they found Eddie's father seated at the game table, a series of manuals and notebooks set before him. The Smalls owned no television. Andrew considered it a waste of time and money, and believed that the greatest shows had already been made, and no new shows were any good. They did possess a large projector screen onto which they would project classic movies. "What you doing, Dad?" asked Eddie as he entered the den. "Planning the next campaign," replied Dr. Small, barely looking up from his materials. Dr. Small was an avid tabletop gamer and would often plan complicated fantasy games, which he would play with Eddie, Bucky, and some of his friends from the university. Eddie looked forward to these games with great enthusiasm. His father was an excellent storyteller. Unbeknownst to Eddie, Andrew Small used these as a distraction. When his academic work became too stressful, Dr. Small would divert his attention to planning games or practicing his swordsmanship. I can't decide whether to have the party attacked by orcs again or bring back Kemujang the necromancer and his army of the dead, said Dr. Small. Kemujang, said Bucky. Kemujang it is, replied Dr. Small. Now, by the way, how did I come up with the name Kemujang? I smashed the keyboard with my fist and then put the vowels where they should be.
That tracks.
I should do that more.
Valid.
You really should.
I mean, the way I write, people think I do that.
He scribbled
Tell
a
them
note
it sounds
in his
right to you.
Oh, by the way, supper's ready, added Eddie. Excellent, said Dr. as he dropped everything and practically into the dining room and worked for long stretches, forgetting to eat until someone reminded him that food existed. Thus he was famished. The family sat down to dine on the roast. It was a cheerful evening, sharing love and laughter about the events of the day. It just doesn't make sense, said Andrew. Stars don't just blink out of existence. Could it be a black hole? Offered Bucky. We have no evidence that they're all getting swallowed up by black holes, replied Dr. Small. We'd pick up the gravitational influence on those other stars. There's nothing out there that we can see. Maybe Azariah would know, offered Eddie. Who's Azariah? Asked Edith. I thought I edited this part. Okay, I'm sorry, I repeated some dialogue here. I'm just going to skip over that part. Edith and Andrew shared a look between the two of them. They didn't necessarily have to say what they were thinking. The other simply knew. The two felt some cross between fear and wonder at the sound of the name Azariah. It was like they knew him, though they had never heard of him before. Thank goodness he rescued you two, said Edith. He knew all about Eddie's dreams, and he knew about Fred, continued Bucky. The cat? Asked Andrew. Yeah, he said he speaks cat, said Eddie. That's not weird at all, said Edith. The couple shared another look without uttering any words. He says that the spiders from my dreams are out there, devouring stars, said Eddie, without any prompting. Now, how could that be? Asked Dr. Small. Eddie shrugged. It's what Azariah said. I think you should avoid Mr. Azariah from now on, said Dr. Small. But he didn't hurt us or anything, said Eddie. It's clear the man isn't all there mentally, said Dr. Small. Just do as your father says, Eddie, said Edith. We're just looking out for you. The family spent the remainder of the evening playing board games until it was time for Bucky to go to bed. Dr. Small and Eddie escorted him home safely. Again tomorrow? Asked Bucky. God willing and the creek don't rise, replied Eddie. Bucky smiled and went into his house. It was a sad sort of smile, however. Bucky's life was not a happy one. Eddie was virtually the only really good thing he had going for him at this point in his 10-year-old existence, as you shall soon see. The smell of cigarette smoke permeated the dwelling. Though he was around it nearly continuously, Bucky disliked cigarette smoke. Harriet sat on the couch watching some movie or other, a lit cigarette dangling from her fingers. Harriet was not a pleasant woman to be around if one happened to be on her bad side. Indeed, some might have called her a battle axe, and due to an unfortunate turn of events, she was his guardian. Bucky didn't understand how his father could have turned out so kind and gentle while his aunt was such a wicked witch. They were siblings, after all, but I suppose that is an unsolvable mystery. Don't tell my relatives. Every time he read a fairy tale, which was often, that happened to contain a witch, Bucky, in the privacy of his thoughts, would cast his Aunt Harriet in the role of the witch. He imagined himself as the hero, vanquishing his wicked aunt and saving the princess. Harriet took a drag and dropped the ashes in a tray. The small dog, constantly by Harriet's side, yapped angrily at the boy as he entered. Oh, dang, I forgot about the dog. I need to put the dog in later. Arnold, shut up, barked Harriet. Where have you been? She asked Bucky. I was at the Smalls, Bucky replied sullenly. Aunt Harriet sighed and took a puff on her cigarette. Did you do your homework? Not yet, replied Bucky. Then get to it, she barked, before I lay into your backside. The boy ran upstairs quickly and cloistered himself in his room, one of the few places he had left that was his own, and yet not his own. Harriet had thrown away or sold off many of his possessions after he moved in, much to the boy's chagrin. What remained were a few toys, mostly fantasy and science fiction characters, his books, which were of a similar nature, and a few other knickknacks and trinkets. Bucky shared a wall with his cousin Anna, who was at this time playing her music a bit too loudly for the lad to concentrate on his studies. With an exasperated sigh, Bucky stomped over to Harriet's door and pounded on it. Anna's door, sorry. Anna was Harriet's little angel. She could do no wrong. She got whatever she wanted, and Bucky got whatever was left. Anything he had, she had a newer, more expensive version. Bucky greatly resented her, but he understood to an extent. She was Harriet's only child. He was a guest. Anna opened the door, an irritated expression on her face. She was nearly 17, blonde hair, cut into a perfect bob haircut, and perfect blue eyes and perfect symmetrical face. What do you want? She asked. Could you turn your music down? Asked Bucky as politely as he could manage. I'm trying to study. Anna clicked the down arrow on her remote control for the speakers and placed it back in the pocket of her sweatpants. Anything else? She asked. No, replied Bucky. The boy slumped back to his room and wept. Despite what Bucky may have thought about his cousin, she wasn't an unfeeling monster. Most people aren't, really. There are a few. I'm sure you've met a monster or two in yourself. I'm sure you've met a monster or two yourself. Most people are just trying to fill a need that they don't know how to express, or simply don't even know that they have. Anna could hear the faint sounds of Bucky's weeping, and indeed she did feel terribly for him, orphaned at such a young age, disliked by his own family. But she didn't have a single clue what to do for him, so she played along with her mother, pretending to be cold and indifferent to the boy's suffering, simply to stay on Harriet's good side. It was selfish, but she didn't know what else to do. She switched off her stereo speakers and put on her earphones so that she wouldn't have to hear Bucky's anguish, went back to painting her toenails. Meanwhile, Bucky, having poured out his sorrows, dried his eyes, switched on his desk lamp, and began his homework. It was late, but Harriet didn't care when he went to bed so long as he got good grades. Once the majority of the work was done, Bucky fell into his bed without changing his clothes and went immediately to sleep. Andrew Small sat on the edge of his bed, removing his socks. His wife, meanwhile, stood facing the mirror, brushing her curly hair. He looked up at his wife, admiring her beauty and thinking about how lucky he was to have such a wife, when she suddenly interrupted his train of thought with a question. Do you think the boys were telling the truth? About what? Asked Andrew. About Azariah, replied Edith. We've never known Eddie and Bucky to lie, he replied with a shrug. Maybe stretch a point here and there. I'm worried about them, said Edith. I am too, said Andrew. This Azariah character is very suspicious. I'd keep an eye out for him. Do you think the boys are in danger? Asked Edith. I don't know yet, replied Andrew. But as they say, trust God, but keep your powder dry. How did he know about Eddie's dreams, though? Asked Edith. Must have been some sort of lucky guess, replied Andrew. That's some luck, responded Edith. He should go to Vegas, joked Andrew. What do we do if they meet him again? Asked Edith. I'll have to have a word with Mr. Azariah in that case, replied Andrew. Edith took a long pause to think. She was not sure about this Azariah character, but something inside her told her not to fear him. What do you think of Eddie's nightmares? Asked Edith. I think they're the dreams of a boy who is deathly afraid of spiders, said Andrew. And there's no deeper significance than that? Asked Edith. You're the one with the psychology degree, said Andrew. I should take him to the entomology department. Why? Asked Edith. Remember back when I was terrified of snakes? Asked Andrew. Edith chortled as she remembered the incident when they were dating. She had discovered Andrew's phobia, but had met with some resistance in convincing him to confront it. She therefore placed a rubber snake in their picnic basket and watched as Andrew leaped about 6 feet, howling with terror. It was said that people in the next county had filed a noise complaint. Well, remember how I dealt with it? Asked Andrew. Yes, I remember, replied Edith. You went to the pet store and you handled boa constrictors until you were cured. I think the same may work for Eddie, said Andrew. I'll take him to the entomology department at school and he can learn all about spiders. I think that's a brilliant idea, said Edith enthusiastically. Throughout the conversation, Fred had been sitting in the hallway pretending to groom himself. Well, he was not just pretending, but he was listening intently while grooming himself. He would have to inform Azariah that the family's suspicions had been aroused, and he would have to tread lightly from this point forward. What was most important now was that their adversaries did not know what was happening. They had waited too long and worked too hard to see the plan fail. Once the two had said their prayers and extinguished the light, the cat padded silently back to his post in Eddie's room. The boy was dreaming again, haunted by visions from the dark corners of the universe. There was nothing anyone could do. This was simply part of the process. Fred's duty was to stay by the boy and ensure his safety. End of chapter 2.
Okay. So, I wrote about 3 different notes really quickly. This may just be a preference thing, but I noticed the dialogue tags were all said name, which I found very unusual. Is that just a preference thing?
That was just I need to get this down on paper before I die.
Okay.
Do that.
Okay.
Valid.
Yep.
I'll change the voice tags in editing. This is just the first draft, and all of these things will change.
Gotcha.
Well,
I again, it probably. I feel like banter is definitely your strong suit, where you're like I often find myself drifting off at different times. It doesn't matter how hard I try, I just do at times. But then what would pull me back in would be a witty bit of banter here and there. I can't think of a specific, dang it, but
yes,
they're there.
And the dialogue's good. However, it did seem like you were covering every detail in the interaction. And I feel like a lot more could have been passed over. And one of the bigger examples of that was the snake incident. And that's not because it was unnecessary. No, it's not because it's unnecessary. It's because the snake incident is one of those incidents where I think if you don't tell the reader what it is, what the reader will imagine will be funnier than what you can come up with. Or essentially it could be a small noodle incident. Yes, a noodle incident.
I agree with that. However, I would leave they had noise complaint. They complained about the noise 2 counties over line.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a very nice line.
I would keep that line, but maybe not
Yeah.
explain the entire thing.
Yes,
Like, remember this day.
the impacts of it, maybe go into detail on that, but I feel like it would be a lot more humorous if you didn't say how it happened. But like, yeah, the 2 counties over, that would be pretty. That should probably be in there. But that's my criticism.
Probably not going to do that because I'm the author and I can. And what I'm trying to do is people complain that I don't put enough detail into my books and I just leave things vague.
Yeah.
And that works in my fantasy, most of my fantasy work.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to sort of build on a I'm trying to get people coming back for more. But with this, I decided to just put every silly little detail I can think of in there as sort of an homage to C.S. Lewis. Like,
yes.
If C.S. Lewis were writing this, what would he say? Well, he would include every little silly detail.
Yeah.
And
right.
Like that's what the story is about. It's about like protecting those things.
Right. Well, let me throw this in there in defense of what Ian's saying, and the way he's doing it. The other artist author I've mentioned you sounding like in this one is the Lemony Snicket series. It has that vibe it has that vibe of a slower childhood experience, and the child is absolutely horrified at their existence. Both of them are, to a certain extent, have horrors in their existence as a child that an adult would just like scoot past and not even notice. And so children have all this extra time on their hands to notice all this other detail, and it really takes me into their point of view. The other thing that I'll mention is if you do a twist where the cat is the narrator, I am going to scream in happy joy. Just saying.
Do it.
Any twist with the cat, I will be extremely joyous as well. Any twist.
So,
oh, did the cat show up this chapter?
Yes, the cat showed up at the end.
Okay. I am sorry.
The cat,
No,
the cat was there at the beginning. The cat was there at the beginning talking about the banjolele and not being wanted to be.
Okay, gotcha.
The cat is at the beginning and the end. The cat is the alpha and the omega.
Oh no! Oh no!
Not going Jesus line.
Go ahead.
Red is God. Clip it, Joshua.
I'm not doing clips on this one, but if I do in the future, there you go. All right, Brendan, go ahead.
Just real quick, Ian, how dare you write a protagonist who has a family that makes me jealous?
Well, I was also going to say his father sounds like your dad.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
He is, but
plays D&D with you, is a professor, he likes to distract, you know, all that. The only thing is I don't think your dad is like a musician instead of a swordsman, am I correct? That would be the one difference, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
But dad did do my dad did do martial arts. He did do kung fu for a while because he has this thing that's called a remedial tremor. His hands, when he exercises, his hand shaking doesn't. It lessens significantly. So
anyway,
but
okay. Well,
but yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did actually base him on your father.
The truth comes out.
Came through.
That is understandable and fair, and I wholeheartedly support this decision. I guess what I'm interested in seeing, because it seems like that Eddie has it pretty good except for these dreams, and Bucky doesn't have it pretty easy. He's got a rough life, but he doesn't have to deal with these dreams. I'm expecting I'm anticipating that that's going to cause some tension between the boys.
I hadn't
'Cause-
thought of that, but that's a good idea.
because frankly, Eddie's, except for the bully, Eddie's life seems really, really good. Now, I had a really, really good life, and my family was an awful lot like the family in your book. But at the same time, you know, it's not. I'm not saying I'm Eddie. Stop. I'm just saying that, like,
We are Eddie. Eddie is us.
we are Eddie. Eddie is us. I just think that
we are all Eddie to
Yeah.
a certain extent.
Yeah.
Debbie just said, "Why is the cult Eddie?" Eddieism.
I guess. I guess my one concern is that Eddie's difficulty. Like, I think that in order to make the stakes sufficiently, like, or to make the characters, like, I'm not someone who says that your main character has to come from a tragic backstory, but I'm wondering if the fact that his life is, that he has such a good life, either if he's not going to appreciate it, and we're going to find out about that later, or if he does appreciate it, if when things get tough, that makes it harder for him, right? Rather than Bucky, who already has.
You're finding the sound effects, huh?
Rather than Bucky, who when things get tough, Bucky's already has a tough life, and so he's able to actually act more, and he's going to be the one to help Eddie through a lot of stuff. So I can see, like, so many different ways and variations. All this to say, you did a really good job. I really appreciate it. Your throwaway banter lines are just anyway.
Yeah.
You and TK both.
Delicious.
How dare both of you?
Okay, hey, you'll have to explain that to somebody.
Everything that everybody has said, I completely agree with. I agree with the comparison of your writing style to C.S. Lewis. Another writer that one thing specifically you did reminded me of is actually Doug Wilson in his fiction, because he constantly, like, at least a couple times a chapter, will have this is the point of view of this person, who is not the main character and doesn't have anything to do with the story whatsoever, but this is their point of view. And the way you did that with his cousin was really good. I really like that.
That I borrowed actually from Dean Koontz. I've mentioned Dean Koontz on the podcast before. Yes. If you have not read any of Dean Koontz's books, you really should. They're really, really good. Like, if you like I say action, thriller, suspense, sort of mild horror, Dean Koontz is one of the best.
Very good. All right, Abigail.
I like that.
Abigail, are you still around? Are you on the line? Are you?
I want to hear Abigail's concept.
That's what I was gonna say. I think Abigail could be next if she's available.
Debbie had one critique.
Go ahead. While we're waiting to see if Abigail's still around.
I felt like, at the very least, for the part with Bucky, there could have been a lot more showing instead of telling. Like, just pointing out all of the things that he has, that his cousin has, that are a lot nicer, instead of just saying everything she has is newer and nicer than him.
Yeah. Okay. If somebody tells me to show, not tell one more time, I'm going to smash their head through a wall.
I'd like to see you try in front of Alex.
No, not tell. Show, don't tell.
Hello, Abigail.
Hello.
Are you available
I have
for
been
your
listening.
concept?
I'm eating pizza and watching Doctor Who, but
delicious.
I've walked away. So
well,
yes.
Can you share?
As long as I'm not eating Doctor Who and watching pizza.
There you go. Well then.
Yeah, I enjoyed that excerpt. That was fun. I did like the snake thing and the complaint filed in the other county. That was funny. Let me see. I don't think I have any criticisms. I mean, like, it's not as smooth as it could be, but it's a first draft, so
Yeah.
you know, that was good.
Do you want to share your concept so that we can discuss?
Sure. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's like it suddenly congealed. I've been having this idea for a long time, and then I added in one little thing, and it works, and it's so exciting. So, all right. So let's see. I mean, I'm taking notes. I don't know if I'll read it out, but so I think I've talked about this before, that the like the fall of Jerusalem, the exile, all that, especially like Lamentations and Jeremiah, it reads like a post-apocalyptic story. So I thought it would be very interesting to have a fantasy that's set in that time. And oh dear. Like have I want to have the like the first book. It follows a young guy who's probably in his teens, and basically all you see is this desert setting, and everything's terrible. And you get these flashbacks that gradually build the story of how it came to be this way. Like everything is ruined. What happened? And the flashbacks. What?
You're okay, I think. I don't think that they were
Okay.
saying anything. I just was sound.
There's just some random sound
Okay.
coming from Alex's line.
Oh. But yeah, so the like these flashbacks gradually build into this, like, and it coheres until you realize that it's Jerusalem that has fallen to Babylon, and the main character who lost his family are all dead. His friends were taken into captivity, and he's, you know, trying to come to terms with the new world as it is, and how do you survive that? And then, of course, following along that with, he makes friends eventually with Jeremiah. There's the assassination of Gedaliah, and that's how I pronounce it. I suppose it could be Gedaliah. I don't know, whatever. But and then that whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of drama, and it's intense and exciting, and I think it would make a great like trilogy. And then I thought, what if there's also what if he's fighting not just to survive in a human way, but what if he's also fighting some demons in the original sense of the word, the creatures of the desert, the fae, basically. So things like Jinn and Peris and Statters and dragons and Ifrits. Thank you. I knew there was another one I was forgetting. Yeah, and what if he's facing off against those? And then I bumped it up another level, and it's like, wait, what if he's also facing off against the gods, the false gods that have been defeated by God's judgment? The people have been wiped out and carried away. So these false gods, the Baals and Molechs, have lost all their worshippers, and they've lost their power. They are judged too. They wouldn't be too happy about that. And what if they're trying to take their revenge against all the people that they can? And suddenly, here's the main character, who doesn't have a name yet. And what if he's like, gets on their bad side and suddenly has to fight for his existence against the gods? And yeah, so that's the first part.
I like that a lot.
And
yeah. I'm really digging that. Just get Brian Sovey in here right now.
Can I throw in a little yes and? It might be too much. I fully admit it might be too much. Have you ever seen the movie Frequency?
Hey,
I love that movie.
I have.
Okay. Frequency, for those who don't know, is a concept where a father and a son end up talking to each other over a ham radio, but they are actually separated by what, like 15, 20 years? Something like that?
I think it's
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, something
At least
like
20
that.
years, yeah.
And so
I think I ran into the remake of that.
yeah,
I didn't find the
and
original.
yeah, because they did do a remake. That's right. Well, anyway, my point is, what if we did Frequency with Saint Anthony?
Saint Anthony. That would be which Saint Anthony
Of the desert.
That's a great idea.
of the desert.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
You're saying Saint Anthony of the desert?
Yes. Because we're dealing with the
Okay,
desert, we're dealing
that's
with all the the evil stuff in Babylon and all that other kind of stuff, and we have a prayer-based frequency situation between our main character and Saint Anthony of the desert. Just an idea, throwing it out there as a concept. Anyway, Brendan, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, one, I'm not. Well, three things. One, I'm not sure Abigail finished because
No, I don't think she did either. But I was just yes-anding.
Two, just a clarification question, Abigail. This is Is this connected to the story you shared either last time or the time before, where the guy had some dark magic that was like darkness, and it was like post-apocalyptic America, but not, and there was magic? Is that connected to that?
That's far future. I mean, well, obviously, it's that story would be about 20 years in our future, and this is obviously history. But yeah,
Okay. So no,
so it is the
not
same world.
So okay,
It's
same
the
world,
same
but
world.
not,
Yeah.
but not the same story. Okay, cool. Thank you for that clarification. And three, a joke. Ian, I know you said that if someone show don't tell one more time, you would bash their head through a wall. So I'm going to tell you: display, don't declare.
We need a T-shirt of that. That needs to be a T-shirt. Display, don't declare. Anyway. All right, Abigail.
A writing T-shirt, yeah.
Being like really like poetic, fancy font.
No.
Abigail's got the floor again.
Abigail.
Yes, Abigail's got the floor again.
Sorry. So yeah, I think that at the end, I would have it end where basically the main character. Maybe I'll just call him. No, that wouldn't work. The main character is he's involved with the whole the assassination of Gedalia and the repercussions from that. Everybody decides, let's go to Egypt because they'll protect us. Which, of course, stupid idea because Jeremiah's already like, they're going to be destroyed too. And I don't actually know how that whole thing works out, so I'll have to research that. But so at the end of the trilogy, they're going to Egypt. I think. Okay, I've come up with so many ideas. I'm really excited about this, and I don't even need to work on this right now. But the so they go to Egypt, and they the main character he's developed a reputation by this time, and the Egyptian gods confront him, and they're not happy about the judgment that God did on them way back when. So and it hit me like, what if that was one of the reasons that God said, don't go back to Egypt to the Israelites? He's like, don't go back to Egypt because the gods will not be happy. They will take the revenge. So then, actually, that would be an interesting way to tie in the St. Anthony thing, because I think he was from the Egypt area, so that might work there. But so then he has to deal with that. By the end of that whole thing, he's, Egypt is wiped out. Just a minute. Sorry. Egypt is, that empire is completely broken. Not by anything that the main character does, but it's well, I mean, he might have something to do with it, but it's broken. He's and then the Babylonians are like, you seem to be a bit of a knowledgeable about all these spirits and demons and everything, and so they cart him off back to Babylon. And then I've always wanted to do a series with Daniel as one of the main characters, as this basically a wizard, a very powerful wizard, and there's this whole a school of wizards in
I'm
Chaldea.
sorry. I have a
there-
wand that I've been playing with, and the fact that you're saying all this is hilarious to me.
yeah, okay, not this Daniel.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I've been, yeah.
That's why
But
you
yeah,
mentioned the
and
thing with the
Daniel has
general's
this-
report earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been reading through it and I'm taking notes and like, oh, this idea could work here and that idea could work there, and what's happening with this part, and oh, there's this other part, and who are these people over here? Anyway, I'm having way too much fun reading my Bible in the prophets. I mean, usually this is pretty dark and heavy stuff, but I'm like, yeah, so hideous. So, yeah, so I've always wanted to do this mystery series, but since I'm moving in this main character who's dealing with gods and demons and all these creatures and fighting them and like really taking a firm stand on God's side. That's it's become more of a dark fantasy sort of thing with a little bit of cosmic horror, and yeah, so it'll be a little bit mystery, I think, and I'm thinking that I could introduce another main character, like possibly a love interest for the main character, like, and who's been working with Daniel for years. Like she's a servant or something, and she feeds him information and learns stuff on the side, and then they join forces and deal with a whole bunch of the different things that happen in the book of Daniel, plus running into Ezekiel, although I'm not sure the timeline works for that. But yeah, so, and I haven't worked out that stuff yet, but it sounds really interesting. So, that's
Yeah.
about all I have. And any thoughts?
That's exciting.
I have two thoughts, just two, because the last two brain cells. I like it, really like it. Love the sound of all of that. Just yes. Biblical fiction kind of makes me a little uncomfy. So how are you navigating that?
Mostly by sitting on the edges. Like, I want to have Jeremiah show up as a character, but I don't want it to be about Jeremiah. I want to focus on the history and kind of imagining what's happening in other ways.
Gotcha.
And I don't love biblical fiction, but yeah, I mean,
there just really wasn't another way to tell the story you want to tell without it being.
Well, yeah, and it's like this kind of biblical fiction.
Yeah.
Doing it in this way, it does interest me, and I think I will have to. I'll have to figure out how to articulate that correctly.
Hey, Abigail. Question. Have you ever read the Mark of the Lion trilogy by Francine Rivers?
No.
Okay.
No Francine Rivers around here.
Say what?
What?
What did you say?
I have not read any Francine Rivers at all.
Okay. The Mark of the Lion trilogy is... I've read several of her things. It's the only one that I'd actually go back and reread, personally. The inciting incident of it is the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD. It's really, really well done historical fiction set immediately after the Bible.
Okay.
Like, he interacts with John and a bunch of stuff along those lines.
So,
Interesting.
As far as that goes, if you're trying to figure out what flavor you're trying to write as far as kind of biblical fiction, I'd recommend at least checking that out. Because that does it really weird and I think in a good way.
I like the term historical fiction because it's historical.
So
yeah.
It's really, really fast.
Yes, Brendan.
One, there's a movie called Risen starring Joseph Fiennes and I can't. It's a really good movie in my opinion. Yes, it introduces an extra biblical character, but it illustrates the point that I want to say real quick. I don't think biblical fiction is a problem if you are writing biblical fiction and not biblical fan fiction. And the
Mm.
difference, in my opinion, is biblical fan fiction. You take characters that are already established in the Bible and you try to expand their story, versus having your main character be someone set in that time, and you have all of the events happening from the Bible happening around them and how they're reacting to it, and then expand the story based off of that.
I've always wanted to know like the stories of some of the people, like the guy that Jesus cast Legion out of, like after.
Salmon.
Like we don't. What is it?
Salmon. That's
Salmon?
Rahab's husband and Ruth's other mother, or yeah, Ruth's mother-in-law when she marries Boaz.
Gotcha.
Just
cool.
You know, my point is, I think you've I know you need to work this out. You're the artist in this case. You're the writer. You do need to, grapple with it. But for what little it's worth coming from me, I think that you've got a lot of great material here, and I think that you can do it actually pretty easily, as long as you make sure that the biblical characters are like on the side. You're sitting on the edge, but your story, your center is on the edge. So you're still going to bleed a little bit. You can, oh, Jeremiah's over there. Oh, this person. Anyway, I think you're good. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anything further? Okay, yeah, Abigail. Anything further?
Well, there's
Ian, you had something for her?
Well, they might need to get going soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do need to get going soon. I like the concept very much. Have you read the Greek version of Daniel?
I don't read Greek.
Well, it's in a Catholic Bible.
Okay, so really Bible nerd stuff about to come out here. So there are two versions from the Old Testament from which we translate English Bibles. There's the
Septuagint
Masoretic text, which most Western English Bibles are translated from.
Protestant.
And then there's the Septuagint.
Yes, which
the
Catholic.
Septuagint is the Greek text of the Bible, and it's actually older than the Masoretic text, and it has parts of Daniel and Esther that are missing from the Masoretic text, which is why I think that those books are in the Greek more correct, and partly because Daniel fights a dragon. And Rule of Awesome, obviously that version is correct.
Yes. That would be the version Catholic Orthodox and Catholic and Orthodox Bibles are based on.
Right.
And the two Daniel stories that are in there are Susanna and Bella and the Dragon. You can look those up later. The other one is just a song. So.
Attention, valiant warriors of the imagination! Prepare for a temporary ceasefire as we navigate the commercial labyrinth!
Are you looking for thought-provoking Christian perspectives that bring unity across denominations? Then you'll want to check out Logosophia magazine. As a free online interdenominational publication, Logosophia publishes a variety of creative works like articles, stories, and poems on different theological themes each quarter. Their goal is to have respectful conversations that highlight our shared beliefs outlined in the Apostles', Nicene, and Athanasian creeds, as we clarify our differences. So if you want to dive deeper into your faith while learning from other Christian expressions, subscribe to Logosophia magazine today on their website or listen to their podcasts. We look forward to journeying with you.
Now is the time for your book recommendation minute with Alexander Robertson, the part of the show where Alexander Robertson comes out and recommends a book.
I was at the Fight Laugh Feast conference recently, and I picked up this gem from the Noggin Nose booth, where I was lucky enough to meet with the author. I expected that I would enjoy it. It was Doug Wilson's Book of the Month a while ago, but I did not anticipate exactly how fantastic it would be. However, before I continue with my praise, I probably ought to explain what exactly this book is. The Thing is a collection of 5 stories by Rivers Houseal. The subtitle is Short Stories of Things and the People that They Encounter, and it very much lives up to the promise of that subtitle. Each story is based around a meeting of thing and person and the events which follow. From a typewriter being found in the middle of the road by an aspiring writer, to a deformed potato found by a soldieress in the Women's Land Army amidst World War II, each story is beautifully crafted in every facet. The characters are believable to the point where I was convinced I had met many of them, and the form of the short stories so very well suited to these tales. It is a relatively rare thing for a book or story of any form to bring a tear to my eye, but multiple stories in this collection did. The themes of God's grace and sovereignty resonate very deeply with me, and the skill with which Miss Houseal works beautifies these themes and raises them to a level of glory which I have very rarely seen. This book is absolutely marvelous, and I recommend it heartily to everyone who has a taste for stories of any form. I'm certain that nobody will be disappointed. In my part of the world, at least, to see a typewriter sitting in the middle of the road is not normal. But if I have learned one thing, it is that odd things do happen, and there it sat. Furthermore, I was raised to know that when one spies a typewriter in trouble, one rescues it. So I did. Excerpt from Of When a Typewriter Was Found, the first story in this collection.
Soldiers, advance! We've emerged from the commercial abyss, ready to resume our mighty march on Poets at War!
Yeah.
I find it funny that this is my birthday broodcast, and I haven't heard my name spoken. Not my name, but, someone.
Happy birthday. This is our gift to you.
Abigail, you want to wrap what you were saying? You want to wrap what you were saying about this and everything?
Oh, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's definitely concept. I don't really know. I've always wanted to do more about Daniel. So basically Bible fan fiction, which I agree that can be definitely a problem. Unless you're really respectful to the text.
Right.
But this would not necessarily be that. I mean, I might be like, oh yeah, Daniel's gonna go off and, he's visiting this one place and he's gonna do such and such, and, he has this whole conversation with somebody, and it's like, I can do that, I can imagine that, but having him as a primary character would be problematic, so I'm not sure how much I'll do. Of course, this is all in concept, so,
The Book
yeah.
of Mormon
And the,
Bible fan fiction changed my mind.
It is.
No.
The Book of Mormon is. Yes.
You're not going to find anyone here that disagrees with that
Right.
statement, I think.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic
and
concept. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm looking forward to developing it more, trying to get some notes down, and then I'll leave it alone and then, just throw on whatever I feel like when I feel like it. And if you guys come up with any ideas, I'd love to hear it.
Fantastic.
And yeah, that's it, I think.
Does
a bunch of Brian
TK want to read
playlist.
before she goes? I wanted to see if there was enough time. If you don't, it's okay. But we do really love your stuff.
Yes, I do have a short passage.
Okay.
What Brendan had to say put me in mind of a piece that I had questions about that I wanted to discuss with y'all. Now this happens a little bit more. Thank you.
What did I say?
This happens in. Let me see if I can figure out which chapter I'm in.
I am concerned. I am the
About
instigator. I'm the instigator of this, and I don't know. I don't know what I said.
Well, the concept of the whole shrine thing.
I was going to say. What hath Brendan wrought? Anyway.
Okay, chapter 13. Okay, so this scene takes place in the human world and show how the human world and the concept of God intersect with the magical world here. I just want y'all's opinions on it to see if it's like too pagan or not or anything like that. I kind of wish Sarah were here that way I could get. Anybody here Catholic? Okay. Good. So we have at least one Catholic. I want to make sure that buddy Have the Catholic
Yeah,
and the
he's our
Protestant.
diversity hire, yeah. The token Catholic.
I guess I'll self-identify as Eastern Orthodox for the evening.
I'm having to explain
Daniel,
myself now.
that was amazing. Good job.
But you aren't fasting, so you aren't Eastern Orthodox.
Right.
What?
Okay, so
They'll be okay. Everyone loves you.
okay, so here we go. So to recap quickly, Vingle has entered Sarah's house. Don't worry, there are people there. To form a protection ward, and this is how it's going to be done. Sarah peeked around the doorway to the living room as Fingal knelt by the little home shrine that Granny maintained for a moment. She stepped closer with Katrina and Molly right behind. Recap: Molly is Sarah's grandma. Katrina is their friend who is Boris's mom. Yardry is closer to your people than he is to mine, said Fingal, hearing their approach. We were promised redemption, but not until the very end when all the Yardry's children are revealed and the prince comes to rule. But my protection might be able to help. Fingal stood, came around the sofa, and knelt down in front of the window. Out of his bag he took 2 small crystal lamps, a gold basin with a medallion stamped on the bottom, a glass bottle of dried herbs, and a flint and steel. He poured the herbs into the basin along the spirals and took up the flint and steel. My lord, called out Molly. Fingal turned around. Yes? These might be a little bit, she said, offering him the long matches used to light the candles on the shrine. Let me, Gran, said Fred. Fingal, Sarah's cousin is Fred. Said Fred, lighting one and handing it to Fingal. Fingal nodded and touched the burning match to the herbs at the right side of the spiral. The aromatic smoke filled the room with a familiar scent. Basil? Molly questioned. Witch repellent, replied Sarah. Fingal folded his arms across his chest and bowed. Ardry shield the house, the fire, the beasts, everyone who dwells herein tonight. Shield myself and my beloved group. Preserve us from handling and from harm. Preserve us from foes this night, for the sake of the prince. Fingal lit a match off the burning basil and traced a triskelion in the air. In this place and in every place wherein they dwell tonight, on this night and every night, this night and every night. Fingal sat in silence for a while the basil burned, his head still bowed. Then after the basil turned to ash, he sprinkled it on the crystal lamps. He handed one to Fred and waved his hand over it, lit up with a yellow glow like a nightlight. He went up to Sarah's room and put it in a window. Adam, he said, addressing Molly. Take this one and put it and your cross in the window here. The light and the cross are better than 100 armed men. I'll sprinkle the rest of the ashes at the doors up to the outside. How many do you have? 3 if you count the garage. Just enough. Sarah showed him to all the doors that needed to be protected, and watched as he soberly spread the ashes at the bottom of the door frames. He set down the golden basin when the ashes were all used up. I have done all I can do. All I have now is my blade and my life, he said in Elvish, looking towards the door to the veranda. It will be enough, Fingal. Sarah turned his head toward her, speaking his language back to him. I will end there.
All right.
So, thoughts?
I think we're all waiting for Aaron, the Christian Catholic.
Well, I think whenever you're the way I tend to write magic, I tend to try and think of what it parallels in the real world. Is it supposed to parallel prayer, or is it supposed to parallel technology? Because those are 2 very different things. And magic and different stories will parallel either of them and still be called magic. So in this case, that would be the main question I'm asking is, Is this something that's supposed to parallel prayer, or is it something that's supposed to parallel technology? Because
I think
most
the character literally prayed.
exactly. So, and um, in that case, I don't know. It's difficult to write, I think, in a way that's good, but I don't know.
May I jump in on this real quick?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so TK, let me okay, many thoughts. First of all, how close to Prime World do you want this world to be? Do you, because obviously this is fiction, so there's going to be some suspension of disbelief and stuff like that. But are you thinking that the world Sarah is from is our world?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So when you do that, now you got to deal with a bunch of weird oddities. Is our world, then all of the things that have already been established exist. You are adding on to it. The reason why this is important is because my sister married an African, not priest, but African pastor. He and his mentor would anoint homes with oil and pray psalms over the homes in order to ward away spirits. This is a thing that already happened.
It happens.
Now, Fingal is using fire and crystal lamps. If you're asking if this is sounding kind of pagan, I don't think so necessarily, because this is your world and they're from there and maybe they have a different set of rules.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to imply heavily that they are praying to God, you may wish to consider looking at the Old Testament and the New Testament and looking at what is the historical signs that they have used. So, Passover, the blood of the lamb was painted over the doorpost to protect the children of Israel from the spirit of death. We don't use blood, but what about wine? Maybe painting an area with wine. Now, is ash used? I don't know. There might be. You've got options. The fact that I know Catholics burn some kind of incense and swing it, or maybe not Catholics,
That's not
but
put on the ground.
Yeah.
The incense goes into the air, not on the ground.
Right, but they're still burning. You still got that going in the air, so you
But
have
yes.
something there for that from the smoke.
There are rights for
One thing
blessed
about
homes and
the
exorcism
thing.
homes.
Go ahead, Daniel.
The thing you mentioned with Passover, weren't they like first told to do that? Like God told
Yes.
him to do it.
God
right?
told Moses to tell the people to
do
paint the doorpost, and then after that, you know, they did that. But my point is that like with my altar, because you said that my altar was the thing that I included the signs of the evangelists, I included communion, but I made it plain as because I didn't want to draw too much attention. And there's more than one of these things, so I wanted it to be simple, right? Incense seems pretty shriny. Let's burn some incense. It's not. I don't think that God in the Old Testament talks about the burnt offerings being a sweet fragrance ascending up to heaven. Basically, God likes the smell of bacon, and so not bacon, but you get the idea. God likes the smell of steak, and so he wants to smell your grill when you are offering something to him, you know? So the idea of incense and burning basil, yes, all for it. Go. Good. We're on track. And honestly, I personally like the crystals because I'm the psychotic enchanted world person who thinks that the vibrations of crystals, and I think that the crazy crystal girls are onto something. They just got it wrong.
Yeah.
They're picking up on a reality. They just are misdiagnosing and misinterpreting what it is. The rocks will cry out glory and honor.
Soapbox.
Exactly.
Shut up. The rocks will cry out glory.
There it is. There's the sound.
The rocks will cry out glory and honor. So having the crystals in there can work. I think everything that you have can work. I think you might need to do a little more tying.
Yeah.
If you want it to fit. But here's the problem. You're such a darn good writer. It's just like, even regardless of what I say about that, because you asked about this specific, I'm trying to attack that and try to give you other ideas and thoughts. But at the end of the day, it's your story. They're elves from another world, and maybe their magic, it works in their world because of their history. And magic is magic, God is God. It works everywhere. It works. And you know what? That's fine. No one's gonna go, TK didn't read Second Hesitation Slam. You know? Okay. I'm getting off my soapbox now.
You're good. One thing I was going to add was on these Old Testament stories, there was always this element of, they're doing something. Like the sorcerers made the snake. And Moses then made the snake. But there's this lack of obedience to the right authority in the sorcerer's case, and I think that's a very important element of these kinds of stories, because to the outsider it might look very similar, but like you got to know like that obedience versus rebellion against the proper right and good authority.
Hey, Brendan, I want to let you know that I appreciate the visual of you falling off your chair whenever you dismounted your soapbox. I appreciate it.
Let me just say, TK, before you head on, God deals very differently with different cultures as well, even though there is a universal in Christ. And Christ's universal holds the universe together. Throughout history, God has given different heritages and different histories to different peoples. And a certain amount of not being afraid to say that this mythology existed in some form, sort of like what Patrick did, is something that you can take into account when dealing with these individuals versus, Arab Christian individuals, right? So just wanted to throw that out there too. So there's a redeemed paganism, so to speak, in Christianity that you can lean into as well. You don't have to be, this needs to be accurate to the Old and New Testaments 110%.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it, again, we're going back to C.S. Lewis with the Wilsons here, but like, we have the true magic as like Aslan, like, don't talk to me about the deep magic.
Right.
What was the full quote?
Do not cite the deep magic to me, which I was there when it was
written.
Exactly. All of that. Just keep that vibe, and I think we're good.
To also quote C.S. Lewis, Christ was the fulfillment not only of all of the promises of the Old Testament, but also of all the best dreams of the pagans.
Exactly. Yep. I get more pushback
I don't
on
think it was
that
pagan
point
at all.
Let me just say this. I get more pushback on that point than pretty much anything that I ever soapbox in church and Sunday school.
I've never gotten any pushback on that point from any of my Baptist friends.
Interesting.
Which is
weird.
interesting.
That is weird.
That is really weird. Are you sure they're Baptist?
Yes, I'm sure they're Baptist.
Hello, Master Chief.
I quoted that probably like 6 times whenever I was teaching Sunday school with a Baptist deacon who was a Baptist pastor for 40 years.
Nice.
Dispensational, pre-mill, like whole 9 yards, SBC. Never had any problems with it.
Weird.
Completely agreed with it.
All right, then. We have, let's see who's left. We have Aaron, if he would like to. Anyone else? I think we got everyone else.
Yeah.
For those who need to go, do you want to? Anyone need to go? Want to say goodbye?
Yeah, we gotta go. I gotta
right.
take a shower and say
Wilson.
evening prayer.
We appreciate you guys
See you
so
guys.
much. Have a good night.
Get sleep.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
I'll get the hints in
You
peace.
are.
All
I
right.
think my phone is gonna die any second now, so I'll say goodbye.
All right. See you, Abigail.
Bye.
Have a good one.
See you, Abigail.
Hey.
All right, Aaron,
All right.
we're ready for you.
I don't have much time to share, so I'll try and make this quick. I am writing this prologue called. I'm writing the prologue to my book, The Legend of Two Elves: The Will of the Wind, and this prologue is called Bloodwind. The story has also gotten to the point where the villains are just like so dark that I'm having a. It's kind of hard for me to write them right now because they're just kind of bit dark for me. But anyways, I will start it. There may be some awkward pauses as I skip over sections to get to the parts I want to.
Okay.
And that is all the prelude. It was a warm day, a very warm day, the first day of the second high summer. Caude Nimiveras, survivor of the Northern War, heard that the Dark One named Eden, the fourth elder, controlled Ghana, the light of the seven worlds. She caused it to dim as she pleased, caused it to brighten as she pleased. She made the worlds cooler or warmer according to her pleasure. Many of the great legends his uncle Adarian taught him were about the days when she abused the powers, the frostbitten winters, the stifling summers. Yet the world had changed, and he was thankful for it. A great deal of her power was trapped by oath in the Tower of Seasons, which was on the fourth world, Turgos. Now her powers had limits. She could still make winters and summers, make the worlds cold and hot, but never again would the world face 15 years of winter. No, never again, not in this age. Caude was hoping to spot the tower that night. He thought maybe a magnifying glass would allow him to see it. Though Adarian insisted that the tower was invisible even here, in the nearest world. Can you see any of the domes? Adarian often asked, as if the answer was obviously no. Caude was not so sure. Certainly a good enough magnifying glass could let him see. But whether or not he could see that, he was still sure that one thing he could spot was Eden's fancy. She did control the weather after all. He observed the weather every day. He felt like he was getting to know her. The second high summer, hotter than usual. It seems like she wanted more rain. He wondered why that could be. Maybe crops in her realm were failing? It had been raining in Zirconia for the past few weeks. He looked at the maps. He could, and he had to believe that all the lands round the Great Kartian Sea experienced the same thing, including the City of Ice. Maybe not, though. He wasn't a child of Vive. He couldn't expect to know much about the weather, or the will of the wind. But neither would Eden, or Reka as she used to be called, back before her fall. She couldn't possibly understand the will of the wind or know with certainty if her actions would bring about rain or drought or something in between. All she could rule was the temperature. He scoffed at her. All the problems this world could ever face, every famine, drought, and flood, could be stopped if only she stopped fighting the singers and prophets of the Aituro. She claimed to be building a utopia and yet couldn't accept simple solutions like these because of her pride. He knew it was more complicated than that. Rivalries that have existed for millennia can't exactly be settled in a day. But he had to make up reasons to scoff. He needed to find some reason to hold the faith of his father. Caude sat on the porch of his family's house with a stick in his mouth. It was just a stick. Adarian agreed to let him smoke next month, like the other old men in town who sit on their porches. It would be his 16th birthday next month. Finally, he would be able to look like the man he felt he was. Other boys like to horse around, climb in trees, burn things, break into things they're not supposed to. Caude wasn't like that. He found the most exhilarating moments of his life to just be the ones where he sat on the porch, put a stick in his mouth, stared into space, picking out whichever worlds or stars he could see and just thinking. Nothing in life was really better in his eyes. All of life was just about thinking anyways. Maybe he could read a book. He always did think about reading a book when he was out here. Sometimes he did. He often did like to read them. They weren't exactly cheap. I'm going to skip that part. You look silly staring out like that. Caude jolted out of his stupor. His little sister Eldwin stood beside him. She was almost not little anymore, the little 11-year-old. What are you doing here? He asked her. Oh, I don't know. I thought of pouring these chicken feathers on you, but Mother would make me clean it up. So I decided to just scare you instead. Kaude finally noticed the bucket in his sister's hand. Okay, sis, when you're done with that, can you move on and leave me in peace? To put that stick in your mouth, Heldwin said. Come on, you look ridiculous. Everyone knows you look ridiculous. I can't stop my essential task of bugging you if you're gonna go back to stupidity like that. What's so essential about it? Kaude asked, groaning. Only that you have a job to do, Eldwin grinned. Uncle told me to tell you to take these chicken scraps to the dogs. Also, carry wood in for the cook fire. Uncle is teaching me how to butcher the chicken we'll eat tonight. Kaude decided that he didn't exactly believe her, but he wasn't going to argue with her. And so he grabbed the bucket and did his chores. And while he was going out to get the wood for the cook fire, his friend came upon him. As Cuds, did you forget? Tane said. Forget what? Kaude said, confused. Did you really forget? The gang was going to meet up today in Farmer Tan's circle. We had a plan. We told you all about it last week. There'd be a party. Devlin's sister was going to be there, and a few others, of course. If you got wandering eyes, he smirked. Everyone's waiting for you. I swear I didn't forget what you had told me. I wouldn't forget. He was racking his brain, trying to remember what it was he was talking about. Nothing came to him. Then you didn't tell us your uncle said no? Why'd you forget to tell us? No, I don't think I asked him, Kaude replied. Then ask him, Tane said, or just come along. You did promise. I'll ask, Kaude replied. Still have to finish carrying this wood. He rushed inside and dropped the wood in a hasty pile. Now, don't be so messy. Athela came at him from the side. What are you doing? Stack that up right. Will it be enough? Kaude asked, ignoring her command. Why? What do you mean? Of course it will be enough. It's a little more than enough, but stack it up right. Kaude began to do as he was told. Tane just stopped by. He was wanting me to come with him. Well, tell him you got work to do. I'll tell him myself, Athela said. I already promised to come, Kaude replied. Athela looked back at him with a glare. Now, why would you do that? She asked. You can't say stuff like that before you ask us if you can go. I mean, I promised a week ago, Kaude replied. I don't remember it. I think I forgot to ask Uncle if I could go. I was supposed to. I don't remember it for some reason. I usually remember things. You still have water to carry in, Athela replied. And what does it matter if you can't hang out with Tane today? We're going to have a nice meal, and you're going to eat with us, not run away with your friends. I'd like to, but everyone's waiting on me, Kaude replied. I didn't want them to think I didn't remember. It's some sort of party. Amira's going to be there? Athela coughed. You are a one-of-a-kind boy. There will be girls at this party your age? Why, yes, that's what they told me, Kaude said, confused. What's wrong? I may get to talk to her. Don't you want that? Maybe I do, boy, but you're too old to be innocent. You're a good man, Kaude, Athela said. Make the creator proud. If anything suspicious happens, run back here with all you can. Understand? You mean I can go? Kaude asked. What do you think I said? Athela replied. I'll get the water for you, and talk to Adarian and your mom, but in return for that favor of mine, talk to this girl. But don't so much as kiss her, and if anything else happens... I understand, Kaude replied. I will do what you say. Thank you. He turned to the door. Before you go, where are you going? Athela asked. Kaude turned back, confused. To Tane, of course. He's waiting. I mean, did Tane tell you where you were going? Oh, to Farmer Tan's circle, Kaude replied. Athela laughed. Almost regret it, but I said what I said, didn't I? Be back before sunset. If you're not, everyone will be looking for this party of yours. These boys go too far, go straight to Farmer Tan or to any other adult you can find. No need to come back here right away. What do you think is going to happen, Aunt? There might be a dance, maybe. I don't think as highly of your friends as you do, Athela replied, but you put a little good in them. Be good, that's all I ask. I will be, Kaude replied. He rushed out of his house. Tane greeted Kaude with a whistle when he saw him. Finally out here, he said. As he walked down the road, he began to notice strangely that the wind was blowing. It was odd. The leaves on the trees were completely still. Is the breeze following us? Kaude asked. Nice to feel some cool, Tane replied. It's following us, Tane. Isn't that kind of weird. I guess, Tane replied. It could just be windy. Kaude looked at the boy as if that was the dumbest thing he ever heard. Can you see any wind? He said, pointing at the leaves around him. Now it was Tane's turn to look at Kaude as if he was an idiot. You can't see wind, it's invisible. I mean the leaves, you featherhead, they're still. Tane finally looked at the trees. I guess they are. Strange. Suddenly, an idea came to Kaude. He swiftly ran to the right. Dead, hot, still, not windy air hit him. What are you doing? Tane asked. Then he ran left, through the breeze. Then he hit hot, still, damp air. He rushed on, and then he hit it, a second breeze, coming the other way. He ran around in a circle, the breeze always at his back. He ran the other way, it was in front of him. What are you doing? Tane asked. The wind is flowing in a ring. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, completely unnatural. Well, it's keeping us cool, Tane replied. It has to be magical wind. It doesn't flow like that. A second thought struck him. Oh, do you remember the story of Amali? Tane looked at him weird. The hero from Agroth, the girl, you never read your books, Kaude sighed. There's this thing in the story called a wind. Of course, it's not a natural wind. It's one of the 5 winds. The sons of Thina and Kaude made into spirits of wind and the like. Maybe that's what this is. In the story, Amali united with the wind and gained the power of Viv and Vivthaya. Tane shook his head. I don't care. Maybe it is, he said. Sounds right. Either way, he's keeping us cool. Are you one of the 5 winds? Kaude asked. Can you tell me, please? If you are, I know you can tell me. I don't know why a mage would be keeping us in a breeze. The wind kept blowing. Kaude continued to ask questions, continued to make conversation with Tane. Wind kept blowing, and soon Kaude was the only one speaking. Before he noticed, Kaude was walking along a thin path in the middle of the woods. There were sounds of boys shuffling as they tried to hide silently behind trees. Despite their poor excuse for stealth, Kaude could not hear a single thing over his own voice. Suddenly, a quarterstaff struck him on the back of his neck. The world went black. Wind blew in Kaude's face, waking him. He looked around. Boys stood in black cloaks around him. His hands were numb, his feet were not touching the ground. It was a minute before he noticed that he was tied up. Tane, where are we? Who are these people? There was no response. He began to shout. Mom! Mom! Addie, Tan! Even Farmer Tan, where are you? Something caused Kaude to look down. A face was staring at him. It was an older man. Tan, if he guessed right. His friend Tane stood beside him. No. He looked down. A girl's eyes met his own. She was laid out at his feet. A dagger was in her chest. She wore a black cloak. Oh, Amira, no! What did you do to her? What are you doing? Sons and daughters of the Abyss, Tan began. He spoke smoothly over Kaude's screams. We gather here today to offer sacrifice to the great gods of the dark. We offer the unwilling. For as all die unwilling, so too shall their sacrifices die. No, this cannot be! He listed the names of many dark gods and spirits and the 3 elders each, and the 3 dark elders. And at the end of his litany, he said, and most of all to you, Azamriel, son of Thina, wind of blood, who receives our sacrifice here today. God, no! Why must this be? He screamed. They poured oil on the wood under him. Tane lit a torch. He brought it to the wood, and he set it on fire. Why must this be? He cried out. God, oh God, deliver me! They sang, he relied on the Lord, let him deliver him. Let him save him, if this is his friend. Kaude looked up to heaven. God, I know I'm your friend. Where are you? It struck him like a brick. They sang that. They said it mocking him. Oh, I deserve to die, he whispered. Not like that, he heard a small voice say. No, not like that, little boy. He looked around. He could not see the voice. Who are you? I'll be honest with you, he said. I have to be honest with you. I am Azamriel, the wind they're offering this to. Why are you talking to me? He said. Look around you. The fire is at bay. The smoke is not reaching you, he said. This is all my doing. Why are you killing me? Kaude asked. Killing you? The wind said. I am making this fire to cover up our conversation. Tell me, boy, did you ever expect your friends, your only friends, to betray you like this? What are you doing? He cried. Oh, you should know. As Amriel said, you know, 1400 years ago, my brother, I don't know which one, but I heard that he united with this girl called Amali. I heard it from you, actually, when you were walking here to die. You said the two had the powers of Viv and Vivthaya when they united. I decided, well, I may as well try that out. Who better to try it out on than someone who has every reason to kill his friends and neighbors for trying to burn him alive? I don't want to kill you anymore, not yet, he said. I'll never join you. You're a spirit of the dark. I'm a wind, he protested. I was a flesh and blood son of Thina before that Haza thing happened. I'm not a demon. I never can be. You're as good as one, he said. Oh, much better, he laughed. I am much better than they are. I should know with how often I talk to them. But you have every right to bond with me to take vengeance. I would never. I haven't spoken so many words in 1,000 years of wandering as I have this past month. Never since Tane promised that he would kill for me if I only stopped bothering him and his friends. He would gather his group, start my cult, if only I would let him live. Cowdy was silent. I didn't understand him at first, mind you. I haven't spoken language since the last decree. That blasted elder's words are the only ones I remember. But when he demonstrated it to me by slicing his dog, I understood, and I was intrigued. I did my best to let him know, and slowly but surely he taught me to speak your tongue and to understand it. They didn't understand why at first, but I had them sacrifice pixies to me. I guess those boys don't really believe souls are in those living things. But I see them. I don't know where they come from, but they do have them, and they can be killed. I like to kill them when I can, just as much as other Feyan men. They die much easier. I had them start sacrificing bigger things, stuff I couldn't kill with such ease. But it was hard for them to kill anyone without causing a stir, without keeping this hidden, so I decided they could just do it once and be done with it. I promised to lead them to Natura, to eternal life, as if I know where that is anymore. When they thought of a victim, they came up with you, the most uptight man they could think of, the one always in his own head, the one who never knew what the word fun meant, the one who was getting the girl half of them crushed on. Killing Amira was not part of the plan, mind you. But when she saw that you were the sacrifice, she was inconsolable with grief. She threatened all of them. She was violent. I liked the violence. I mostly wanted her to kill them, but then she would have let the town know my sacrifices, and they would come to an end. So they killed her. They laid her at your feet. They added her to their sacrifice to me. Who do you think they will grab next, boy? Yes. Do you not agree with me that these boys deserve to die? Finally, the wind's rant ended. They do deserve to die, Kaude said. So do I, but so do they. Now, why would you deserve to die? The wind asked. It almost sounded curious. I'll just, skip to this part. A vision flashed before his eyes. It was another boy about his age, but the boy was a fairy. He was tied up just like Kaude was, but instead of a circle of men in black cloaks around him, a circle of armed men stood around the pile of wood. Instead of Tane lighting a fire, Veras, Kaude's own father, lit the pile of wood. He stood back, a blank look upon his face. Kaude dimly remembered what his father looked like. He was so young when he died. My death here was foretold. I should not have expected God to save me, Kaude continued. Veras looked up, and suddenly he saw him, his very own son, burning. Veras rushed into the fire. Kaude could almost think that his father was coming to save him, but no, the vision continued as he untied the boy that was in Kaude's place. He took him down from the pyre. He ran for the hills far away, but Kaude remained. God said I would die here. I should have known it all along. They couldn't hide the story forever. The worried look on Mother's face. The boy was taken down from the pyre, the wind replied. You saw the vision too? Kaude asked. Felt it. I do not see. I already feel my bond with you growing. You did not deserve to die, Kaude. I can help you. But it all did make sense. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't impossible. Heroes of Agaroth did this before, joined themselves with the wind. They slew their enemies. They performed deeds of justice. He asked God to deliver him, but why should he complain if he didn't send a league of angels? Instead, he opened himself. He sensed it, the wind. He reached out, he touched it, it filled him. Suddenly the knowledge of the skies filled him. The air around him became full of life. The wind of the world flowed around him. He could see the course they were prepared to take throughout the earth. But most of all, he saw uncertainty. Even the wind itself was unsure where its stores of rain would fall. Even the wind itself did not know what would come to pass. Yet underneath it all, he felt it. The will of the wind, the one who guided it all. And he waited. Azamriel buzzed with joy as he became one with Kaude, and together they became one with Vive. The elder looked at them. I see you have finally noticed your potential, Azamriel, though I fear you will not embrace it fully. Somehow, without moving, the elder turned to Kaude. You have received my power in order to bring vengeance upon those who deserve it. Your time is short. Do good with what remains. And he did. The air around him turned into knives which cut through the ropes around him. A gust of wind blew out of him as he put the fire out. The wind blew back the hoods of all those around him, revealing the faces of everyone who betrayed him. The next moment they were all slain. Daggers of ice covered each one. Bring the hurricane, Azamriel cried out. What? No? Kaude replied. I only did this to gain vengeance. Now they are dead. I did this to kill those who deserved it, not to destroy all I love around me. The wind peered down at him darkly. The boy was being held by his father, gasping for breath as he succumbed to his wounds. Even when the boy was taken from the pyre, he died, Kaude said. As God wills it, so shall it be done. Then if you shall not serve me, I myself will kill you, the wind answered. Then lightning struck. As God wills it, so shall it be done, Adarian whispered as he looked upon the bodies which lined the circle. He didn't want Leanna to see. He knew she couldn't handle it. Eldwin couldn't see. She had to see. 10, Adarian whispered. Oh God, when will it end? And you've taken 7 and 7 again? Must you twice fill up the measure of our sorrows? He looked back down at the body of his brother's son. And why do I have to see it all? And yeah, that was dark, and that's all.
Indeed.
Very dark.
Yes.
I feel like more can be done to kind of balance that out.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe.
But it might not be the right thing for the scene, you know.
Yeah.
I do like it. It is, like you said, very dark. Couple of things. There were a few times when the tone changed from your more high Silmarillion style to a one example I can think of is when this wind god character, name's escaping me, actually he says kind of as a throwaway, he says that whole thing. Like he's using this high language and then he goes, oh yeah, and that whole thing. It just felt jarring.
I think that's kind of the point.
Well, it could be. It could be. I can tell he's more of a chaotic thing, and you can work that, but generally speaking, you do have to be careful.
This is who is who, Dan?
The evil dude in this scene.
The wind is, well, there's 2 evil winds, and this is one of them. It's the blood wind.
Okay, whatever. I don't know who it is then. Okay. And I'm the co-author.
Oh yeah. I understand.
I'm trying to find, because that whole that may have been me skipping sections. I don't know. So
it's okay.
I don't know.
Any which way, that and the very beginning prologue bit, I know that's kind of at least placeholdery for you to say exactly where things go, but it may or may not be needed for this entire scene, like the very, very beginning of this prologue. So
I think this scene was like, it picked up for me where the 2 guys, was it 2 people walking through the woods?
Kane and Kaude, yes.
Okay. The scene picked up for me whenever you just had these 2 characters kind of walking.
That's true,
and talking,
yes.
and then one of them picked up on this weird supernatural phenomenon that the other one was like, it doesn't matter, leave me alone kind of vibe. I really felt like it was me and you walking through the woods. You were going off about, oh, we should incorporate this. I'm like going, doing one of your other tangents. And I was the guy sitting there. I was like, this doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden the scene goes to black and it's like, oh crap, he was right. I listened.
Yes. Yeah, there was. I mean, the whole opening part, you didn't even hear all of that because there was this overlong conversation with Eldwin that I just skipped. Yeah.
I gotcha.
And I'm gonna need to edit it out.
Brendan?
I have it is dark because functionally what you are doing is basically demonic temptation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting around that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what because we skipped certain parts and because my brain kind of fuzzed, I don't know if this character is becoming the main villain, if the wind is the main villain, if like what's going on. Like I don't know what the point of the prologue is, but that's part of a prologue, right? That's part of the point of in medias res is you throw someone in the middle, pique their interest, and then let that interest drag them through the story. Drag them. That sounds bad, but
yeah.
I think that I don't mind the juxtaposition of the Silmarillion like words with the sudden just like absolute chill and not Silmarillion of the spirit. I think that can work.
Honestly, I find it kind of scary. It's just like, oh, why is the demon speaking our language now? That shouldn't be,
Yeah, it the jarring effect works. I think that, like you say, this is a prologue. This doesn't feel to me. This feels like a chapter. My opinion, prologues are short. Should be short. You pique the interest. Start at the sacrifice. Don't do the build-up.
Agreed.
Because
I think there's a lot of build-up that can be removed.
I mean, if you were to do any build-up,
or you can do flashback.
Guys walking in the woods.
Or you can start with you can do flashback. I think that would probably be the way to do it.
Yes.
I think the conversation that he has with his aunt in particular needs to be shortened out of what I have read to you, the stuff that I haven't already skipped, and the stuff at the very beginning. But I think I do want to keep the walking in the woods scene.
Well, maybe not. It depends.
It's pretty short.
Possibly. Yeah, you could start there, I guess. But any conversation you have with the family, just like it, I know that we were saying like, show don't tell. Everyone is saying display, do not display, don't declare. But in this instance, you might be able to get away with telling and not showing.
Yes.
Yeah, just like retroactively saying like, "Oh, this thing happened" or something.
Yeah.
Or he thought back to his talking with his uncle and aunt. He thinks back to that when the sacrifice is going on. He thinks back to that and goes, "Why did I not listen to them? Why did I not listen to them?"
Yeah.
Bring that piece of the conversation. Don't actually show the conversation, but mention when he's languishing in the pyre.
He's basically getting crucified.
Yes.
Whatever the details are.
Yeah.
while he's being sacrificed, have him think back to that, and then have the demon start doing its thing.
Villain monologue time.
I dig it. I agree with Brendan.
I also like that the demon asks questions. Very biblical of you. Very good. Because that's what the serpent did in the garden. So it's sort of the why do you think you deserve to die? You know, sort of or whatever.
Yeah. If there's anything else that anyone wants to say, I do have to leave, but
I think we're good. I think we're about to wrap. But go ahead.
All right.
We better. I'm gonna die.
All right.
All right.
Well, we appreciate everyone. We appreciate everyone who listened. Please make sure if you are in the brood to give more thoughts that you may have had directly to the people. Everybody, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
This is the Broodcast, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join, go to joshuadavidling.com/Discord.